"He is calling me unstable so he can take my baby," I said, and the courthouse hallway went quiet. Daniel stood 10 feet away with his mother beside him and our daughter's diaper bag over his shoulder like a trophy. "Mara, you are proving my point," he said softly, using that careful voice he saved for witnesses. "You need help. Lucy needs stability." I held Lucy tighter, not because I was afraid of him, but because he had mistaken my silence for weakness. His lawyer had just filed an emergency petition claiming I was emotionally unsafe, irrational, and unable to care for our 6-month-old daughter. He had attached cropped screenshots of my texts, photos of a messy nursery after a midnight feeding, and one sentence from therapy that he twisted until it looked like a diagnosis. He expected me to cry, he expected me to shout, he expected every clerk, every parent, every stranger on those hard wooden benches to look at me and see the unstable woman he had invented. Instead, I opened the hidden folder on my phone. I saved the petition, I saved his messages, I turned off our shared location, then I texted my sister Tessa one line, "Bring the therapy notes," across the hallway. Daniel smiled like a man who had already won. He did not know that the therapist had written down every call he made, every phrase he pushed, every time he asked whether the word unstable could be put in my file. He did not know that my sister had kept dates, receipts, voicemails, and the truth, and he did not know that the word he chose to destroy me was about to destroy his custody case instead. Daniel called me unstable in front of the courthouse vending machines, not privately, not in a whisper, not like a man who was afraid for his child and wanted to protect her. He said it in the crowded family court hallway at 8:42 on a Tuesday morning, with our 6-month-old daughter asleep against my chest and his mother standing beside him with her arms folded like she had come to watch a performance. "Mara, stop making a scene," he said. I had not raised my voice. I had only asked why his attorney had handed me an emergency custody petition before I had even taken Lucy out of her carrier. People turned anyway. A man holding a stack of child support papers looked up. A woman with a toddler on her hip stopped fishing for coins in her purse. 2 court officers glanced over from the security desk. Daniel saw them watching and lowered his voice just enough to sound wounded. "This is exactly what I told the evaluator," he said. "You spiral when you are confronted. You are not safe right now." My fingers tightened around the strap of Lucy's carrier. Not safe. Those 2 words moved through me like cold water. I looked down at my daughter. Her cheeks were flushed from sleep, her tiny mouth open, one hand tucked beneath her chin. She smelled like milk, baby lotion, and the lavender detergent Daniel's mother once said was too plain for a Pierce child. A Pierce child, that was how they spoke about her. "When they wanted to erase me, Daniel," I said, keeping my voice steady, "why does this petition say I refused to feed Lucy for 6 hours? His mother, Linda, made a soft sound of outrage. "Because you did," Daniel said. "No," I answered. "She had reflux. The pediatric nurse told me to pause feeding, keep her upright, and restart slowly." "You were there." He shook his head, almost sadly, as though correcting a confused patient. "You see, you rewrite things." I stared at him. He wore his navy suit, the one I had picked out for his promotion dinner 2 years earlier, before I learned that Daniel could make gratitude look like ownership. His hair was neat, his shoes were polished, his wedding ring was still on his finger, bright under the fluorescent lights, as if he had not moved out of our bedroom 3 weeks ago and into the guest room he claimed was temporary. Beside him, Linda held Lucy's extra diaper bag, my diaper bag, the one from the nursery closet, the one Daniel had no reason to have. I looked from the bag to his face. "You went through the nursery. Our granddaughter needed supplies," Linda said. "Our daughter," I corrected. Linda's mouth flattened. "You have been overwhelmed." There it was, the family word for anything I did that did not serve them. Overwhelmed when I asked Daniel to wake up for a night feeding. Overwhelmed when I cried in the shower because my C-section scar pulled every time I lifted the laundry basket. Overwhelmed when I asked Linda not to invite herself over every afternoon and rearrange Lucy's drawers. Overwhelmed when I started therapy, not because I was dangerous, but because I wanted to stay honest with myself in a house where everyone kept telling me my instincts were wrong. Daniel's attorney, a sharp woman named Ms. Vaughn, stepped beside him with a blue folder pressed to her chest. "Mrs. Pierce, the petition speaks for itself. Given the concerns about your mental state, we are asking for temporary primary custody until a full evaluation can be completed. Mrs. Pierce, my married name sounded like a trap. My attorney is on her way, I said. Daniel tilted his head. Karen Liu, Mara, dragging this out is not going to help you. I did not drag anything out. You filed without telling me. I did it because you left me no choice. That was another one of his favorite sentences. You left me no choice when he changed the locks on the office because I kept asking about the bills. You left me no choice when he told his mother about my therapy appointments. You left me no choice when he took screenshots of my texts but cropped out his insults. Lucy stirred against me. I shifted her gently, shielding her face from the hallway lights. Daniel's eyes followed the movement. Something in them sharpened. You should let me hold her, he said. No. The word came out quiet, but it landed hard. His mask slipped for half a second. His jaw clenched. Then he recovered and looked around at the strangers watching us. Mara, he said very softly, this is what I mean. You are possessive. You are paranoid. You think everyone is against you. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was so perfectly rehearsed. Possessive for holding my baby. Paranoid for noticing my husband had filed papers to take her. Unstable for asking questions. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. Karen, I shifted Lucy's weight and answered. I'm at security, my attorney said. Her voice was clipped and calm. Do not discuss anything with him. Do not hand over the baby. Do not sign anything. Where are you? Second floor hallway, I said. Near courtroom 2B. Good. Stay visible. I'm coming. Daniel watched my face. Is that Karen? I ended the call without answering him. Linda stepped forward. Mara, don't make this uglier than it has to be. Daniel is trying to help. No one is saying you are a bad mother. I looked at the petition in my hand. Emergency motion for temporary sole custody. Mother has displayed erratic behavior. Mother has threatened to isolate minor child. Mother has refused necessary feeding. Mother has expressed fear that father and paternal grandmother intend to steal child. I turned one page. Attached Exhibit B. Text message from me. I can't do this anymore. That was all Daniel had included, not the 23 messages he sent before it, not the part where I wrote, I can't do this anymore if you keep waking me up to argue and then telling me I'm crazy for crying, not the part where he replied, crying at 2 a.m., with a baby in the house looks bad. Mara, I felt my pulse beating behind my eyes. Daniel was waiting for tears. I knew him well enough to recognize the stillness in his face. He wanted me to break in public. He wanted an officer to see me shaking. He wanted someone to write down that I was emotional in the courthouse hallway, so I did not break. I opened my phone with my thumb first. I took photos of every page of the petition. Then I uploaded them to the hidden folder Tessa had made me create 2 weeks earlier. After Daniel told our pediatrician I was too anxious to be trusted with medical decisions. Next, I opened our shared location app. Daniel's little blue dot glowed from the courthouse. Mine glowed beside it. I turned mine off. His phone buzzed a second later. His eyes flicked down. Why did you turn off your location? I looked up. Because you no longer need to know where I am every minute. Linda gasped as though I had slapped him. Daniel took one step toward me. Mara, that is not a stable decision. The word stable would have been ordinary in anyone else's mouth. In his, it was a hand around my throat. Before I could respond, Karen Liu appeared at the end of the hall in a camel coat and black heels, moving fast enough that people stepped out of her path. She was small, sharp-eyed, and impossible to intimidate. She took one look at Daniel, one look at Linda holding my diaper bag, and one look at the petition. Mr. Pierce, Karen said, step away from my client. Daniel gave her his public smile. No one is threatening anyone. You are standing within 2 feet of a mother holding an infant after filing an emergency petition accusing her of instability. Step away. He did, not because he wanted to, because the court officer was watching now. Karen turned to me. Are you all right? I am angry, I said. Good. Angry is clear. Give me the petition. I handed it over. She scanned the first page. Her eyebrows did not move, but her eyes hardened. Did they serve you before court? 5 minutes ago. Did he notify you he was filing? No. Karen looked at Daniel. Interesting. Ms. Vaughn stepped forward. This is an emergency matter. Then we'll address it in front of the judge. Karen said. Not in the hallway. Daniel's mother made a low, bitter sound. This family is trying to protect a baby. Karen looked at the diaper bag in Linda's hands. Is that my client's property? Linda clutched it tighter. It is Lucy's. It came from Mara's home, our son's home. Linda snapped. My home. I said. Everyone looked at me. I had never corrected them so quickly before. The house had been my grandmother's. The mortgage was paid before I married Daniel. His name was never on the title, though he had spent 3 years calling it our house whenever he wanted access and my grandmother's old place whenever he wanted to dismiss me. Karen held out her hand. Return the bag. Linda looked at Daniel. Daniel gave the smallest shake of his head. I saw it. Karen saw it too. Fine, Karen said. We'll note the refusal. Linda thrust the bag toward me so quickly a pacifier fell out and bounced across the hallway tile. I bent carefully, balancing Lucy, but Karen picked it up first. She wrapped it in a tissue and slipped it into the side pocket. Don't use it until you wash it, she said. That small kindness almost undid me, almost. My phone buzzed again. Tessa, where are you? I'm parking, I typed with one hand. Courthouse. Daniel filed emergency custody. He is calling me unstable. The reply came back fast. Do not react. Do not sign. I'm coming. I stared at the next message as it appeared. We need the therapy notes. My chest tightened. The therapy notes. The thing Daniel thought would shame me. The thing I had been too afraid to use because it meant letting a courtroom read pieces of my most private recovery. My panic after delivery. My loneliness. My fear that Daniel was making me doubt myself. My guilt for needing help. But Daniel had already dragged my mind into court. He had already made my healing a weapon. I looked across the hallway. He was speaking quietly with Ms. Vaughn. Savannah Brooks was not there, but I could feel her fingerprints on the petition. Family stability, public narrative, protective father. Daniel had started using those phrases after Savannah entered his company as a branding consultant and started commenting on our life like it was a campaign. Linda watched me with open disgust. Daniel looked over and gave me a sad little smile. That smile said, I know you. I know how scared you are of being judged. I know you will do anything to keep people from seeing your weak places. For 6 years. He had been right. Not anymore. Karen touched my elbow. We go in when they call us. Until then, say nothing. I nodded. Lucy woke and made a small hungry sound. I sat on the bench, pulled a muslin cloth over my shoulder, and prepared her bottle with hands that did not shake. Daniel watched me feed her. Let him watch. Let him see exactly how unstable I was while I measured formula, checked the temperature, supported my daughter's head, and logged the feeding time in the app one had used every day since she came home from the hospital. A clerk opened the courtroom door. Pierce Matter, she called. Daniel straightened his suit. Linda touched his arm. Ms. Vaughn lifted her blue folder. Karen stood beside me. I kissed Lucy's forehead, rose from the bench, and walked into the courtroom with my daughter in my arms and my husband's words still burning in the air. Unstable. By noon, I would know whether a judge believed him. By nightfall, Daniel would learn that I had kept more than memories. I had kept proof. Courtroom 2B smelled like old paper, coffee, and floor polish. I had never noticed those things before, not in jury duty. Not when Daniel and I came here years earlier to file a name change after we married because he said being Mrs. Pierce would make us feel like a team. Now every detail felt sharp enough to cut. The benches were narrow. The air was too warm. Lucy's bottle cap clicked softly in my hand as I sat beside Karen and tried not to look at Daniel across the aisle. He sat with Ms. Vaughn at the other table. Linda sat directly behind him, her purse on her lap, her expression fixed in noble suffering. She had dressed carefully for court, pearl earrings, cream cardigan, soft grey scarf. The grandmother costume. Daniel had always been good at building sets. He looked like the reasonable father. Linda looked like the worried grandmother. Ms. Vaughn looked like the professional who had seen enough to know a dangerous mother when she saw one. And me, I was wearing black leggings because Lucy had spit up on my only clean trousers at 5:10 that morning. My hair was in a knot. My left sleeve had a pale streak of formula on it. The skin under my eyes was bruised with sleeplessness. I could feel Daniel's argument before he spoke. Look at her. Judge Ramirez entered, and everyone stood. He was older than I expected, with silver hair, dark eyebrows, and the tired patience of a man who had watched parents turn children into weapons too many times. We sat, the clerk called the case, Pierce v. Pierce, emergency motion for temporary custody. My stomach tightened around the word emergency. Judge Ramirez looked over the file. Counsel for petitioner, M.S. Vaughn rose. Good morning, Your Honor. Elaine Vaughn for Daniel Pierce. Respondent, Karen stood. Karen Liu for Mara Pierce, who is present with the minor child, Lucy Pierce. The judge glanced at Lucy, who had fallen back asleep against my chest. M.S. Vaughn began exactly the way Daniel wanted. Your Honor, this is a difficult but urgent matter. Mr. Pierce is a devoted father who has grown increasingly concerned about his wife's mental state and her ability to safely care for their infant daughter. We are asking the court to grant temporary primary physical custody to Mr. Pierce pending a psychological evaluation and full custody assessment. The words sounded clean in court. That was the danger. Concerned, devoted, difficult, urgent. Nothing about Daniel standing over me at midnight asking why I could not be more like other mothers. Nothing about Linda telling me breastfeeding problems meant I lacked maternal instinct. Nothing about the fact that I was the one who scheduled every pediatric appointment, washed every bottle, tracked every medication, and slept on the nursery floor through Lucy's reflux flares. M.S. Vaughn moved through the exhibits, a photo of the nursery floor covered in burp cloths, wipes, and 2 open drawers, that was taken after Lucy vomited through 3 outfits in one night. I whispered. Karen put a hand lightly on the table. Wait, a screenshot of my text. I can't do this anymore. Another screenshot. You are scaring me. That one hurt because it was mine too, but Daniel had cropped out the sentence before it. When you stand in the doorway and tell me you can make a judge see whatever you want, you are scaring me. M.S. Vaughn continued. There is also evidence that Mrs. Pierce has expressed paranoid beliefs that Mr. Pierce and his mother intend to steal the child. Judge Ramirez looked up. I felt the courtroom tilt. Daniel lowered his gaze at the perfect moment. Karen stood. Your Honor, I object to the characterization. My client expressed a concern after Mr. Pierce removed baby supplies from her home without consent and filed an emergency custody motion without notice. M.S. Vaughn said, the home is marital property. Karen's tone stayed flat. It is not. The home is titled solely to Mrs. Pierce through inheritance from her late grandmother. Mr. Pierce has no ownership interest in the property. Daniel's head snapped toward her. That was the first crack, a small one, but real. He had not expected Karen to bring up the house in the first 10 minutes. He had spent years acting like my grandmother's house belonged to him because he lived there. He had hosted business dinners in that dining room. He had given Savannah a virtual tour of the kitchen during a video call while I was upstairs pumping milk. He had told his mother she could store holiday decorations in my garage. Judge Ramirez made a note. M.S. Vaughn adjusted her papers. Regardless of title, the primary issue is the child's safety. Mr. Pierce has reason to believe Mrs. Pierce's postpartum condition has worsened. Karen rose again. Reason based on what evidence? Texts, photographs, and treatment history. Treatment history. My heart kicked. Daniel did not look at me. Judge Ramirez looked at M.S. Vaughn. Do you have records from a licensed mental health provider diagnosing the respondent as unsafe to parent? Not at this time, M.S. Vaughn said. We are requesting access. Karen's voice sharpened. Your Honor, my client has never been diagnosed as unsafe to parent. She voluntarily attended therapy for postpartum adjustment and stress. That is responsible behavior, not evidence of danger, M.S. Vaughn said. We cannot know without records, Karen replied. Then perhaps petitioner should not have filed an emergency motion implying the records support him when he has not seen them. Daniel's jaw flexed. I kept my eyes on Lucy. She had one fist curled against my sweater. Her fingernails needed trimming. I added it to the list in my head because caring for a baby did not pause for legal warfare. Judge Ramirez leaned back. Mr. Pierce, I understand you are concerned, but emergency custody orders require more than concern. Has the child been injured? Daniel stood slowly. No, Your Honor, but I believe we should not wait until something happens. His voice was warm, controlled, the voice that once convinced me I was lucky to have a husband who stayed calm when I cried. I love my wife, he continued. This is not about punishing her. She has been through a lot since Lucy was born. I just want her to get help while Lucy is somewhere stable. Somewhere stable. With him, with Linda, with Savannah waiting in the wings to write captions about brave fathers and blended families. Judge Ramirez looked at me. Mrs. Pierce, do you wish to speak? Karen leaned close. Answer only what he asks. No speeches. I stood with Lucy carefully supported against me. My knees felt weak. My voice did not. Your Honor, I have never harmed my daughter. I have never refused medical care. I have never missed a pediatric appointment. I started therapy because I wanted support after a difficult recovery. Daniel knew that. He encouraged it when he thought it made him look caring. Now he is using it to say I am dangerous. Daniel made a quiet, wounded sound. I looked at the judge, not at him. I am willing to provide records through my attorney under appropriate limits. I am not willing to hand my private medical history to the man who has already cropped my words to make me look unstable. The courtroom was silent. Judge Ramirez watched me for one long second, then he nodded. Sit down, Mrs. Pierce. I sat. Lucy sighed in her sleep. The judge turned to both attorneys. I am not granting temporary sole custody on this record. Air moved back into my lungs. Daniel turned his head so quickly I heard the faint scrape of his collar. Linda whispered. What? Judge Ramirez continued. However, given the allegations and the age of the child, I will enter temporary orders pending an expedited custody evaluation. The child will remain primarily with the mother for now. Father will have scheduled parenting time 3 times per week at a neutral exchange center. Neither party is to remove the child from the county. Neither party may change daycare, medical providers, or emergency contacts without written agreement or further court order. Ms. Vaughn stood. Your Honor, we ask that the paternal grandmother be permitted pickup authority. No, Karen said immediately. Judge Ramirez looked at the file. Denied at this stage. The parents only. Linda's face turned pink. There, a second crack. Not enough to win, not enough to breathe easily, but enough to show Daniel that the word unstable was not magic. The judge added, I will order both parties to preserve communications, medical records, daycare records, and any home surveillance or baby monitor footage. Counsel will confer regarding limited release of therapy records relevant to parenting capacity. I felt Karen's eyes shift toward me. Therapy records, relevant to parenting capacity. Daniel looked relieved. He thought the records would expose me. He did not know what Dr. Sloan had actually written. The hearing ended with dates, deadlines, and instructions. I understood only half of them. Karen wrote everything down. When the judge left, Linda rose so fast her purse slipped off her lap. This is outrageous, she hissed. Daniel, tell them this is outrageous. Ms. Vaughn touched Daniel's sleeve. Not here. Daniel ignored her and crossed the aisle. Karen stepped between us. Mara, he said, his voice low now, stripped of courtroom softness. You got lucky. I looked at him over Karen's shoulder. No, I got heard. His eyes hardened. Do not confuse temporary orders with victory, he said. Once they see your records, this changes. I wanted to ask him what he thought he would find. I wanted to ask whether he remembered calling Dr. Sloan after my 3rd session because he did not like that I had started saying the words emotional abuse. I wanted to ask whether he remembered the night I put him on speaker while Tessa sat beside me at the kitchen table, listening as he told me a good mother would not need therapy. Instead I said, then let them see the records. For the first time that morning, Daniel looked uncertain. It lasted less than a second. Then Linda took his arm and said loudly enough for people to hear, she is enjoying this. That is what scares me. A normal mother would be ashamed. The word normal hit me harder than unstable, because for months I had wanted to be normal so badly. A normal mother who did not flinch when the baby cried. A normal wife who did not dread her husband's footsteps. A normal woman who did not need a therapist to remind her that being tired was not a moral failure. Karen touched my shoulder. We're done here. Walk. I walked in the hallway. Tessa came through the security doors almost running. My younger sister had our mother's dark curls, our father's stubborn chin, and the expression she wore whenever someone she loved had been cornered. She stopped when she saw my face. Did he get her? No, I said. Tessa exhaled so hard she bent forward. Then she straightened and looked past me at Daniel and Linda emerging from the courtroom. Daniel's expression changed when he saw her. He had never liked Tessa. He said she was too involved, too defensive, too quick to assume the worst. What he meant was that she remembered details. Tessa, he said, this is family business. She smiled without warmth. Then why did you bring a lawyer? Linda said, stay out of this. Tessa ignored her and turned to me. Did the judge ask for therapy records? Yes. Good. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Tessa saw it and smiled again. Very good, she said. He stepped closer. You should be careful, Tessa. You have no idea what your sister has been like. Tessa's face did not change. I know exactly what my sister has been like. I was there. Daniel went still. I looked at her. She kept her eyes on him. I was there for the session after you told her she was too fragile to be trusted with Lucy overnight. I was there when Dr. Sloan wrote down that Mara was oriented, coherent, and protective. I was there when you called 3 times in one afternoon asking whether the therapist could document concerns. Ms. Vaughn touched Daniel's arm. Stop talking. He pulled away from her. Tessa stepped closer to me. You did sign the support release, right? I nodded slowly. Back in February. Then I can testify to what I attended. And Dr. Sloan has the notes. Daniel's face lost color around the mouth. It was not panic yet, but it was the first shadow of it. Karen looked at Tessa. We need to talk today. Tessa nodded. I have the timeline in my car. Daniel tried to laugh. A timeline. Mara, do you hear how insane this sounds? I looked at him, then really looked at the husband who had once held my hand during our wedding vows and promised to be my safe place. At the man who had kissed Lucy's forehead in the hospital and cried, or pretended to cry, when he said fatherhood had changed him. At the stranger who now stood in a courthouse hallway trying to make my sister's care sound like madness. I hear you, I said. He blinked. I hear every word you choose, I continued, and this time, I am keeping them. Daniel's expression hardened into something ugly. Then Ms. Vaughn pulled him away. Karen guided Tessa and me toward the elevator. Lucy woke and started to fuss. I bounced her gently, murmuring into her soft hair. Tessa walked on my other side, close enough that our shoulders touched. When the elevator doors closed, she turned to me. Tell me everything he filed. I handed her the petition. She read the first page, then the second. By the third, her face had gone white with anger. He used your therapy. Yes. He cropped your texts. Yes. He claimed the feeding pause was neglect. Yes. The elevator descended. Tessa looked up slowly. Then we stopped protecting his image. My throat tightened. I'm scared. I know. I don't want strangers reading those notes. I know. What if they think needing therapy means I'm unfit? Tessa stepped closer and put one hand over Lucy's back, careful and warm. Then we show them what the notes actually say, she said. Not his version. The truth. The elevator doors opened to the lobby outside. Daniel's car was parked illegally by the curb with Linda in the passenger seat. He was on the phone, pacing, his free hand cutting through the air. For the first time, he looked less like a man protecting a child and more like a man whose plan had hit resistance. Tessa followed my gaze. He went to Dr. Sloan's office, she said quietly. I turned to her. What? 2 weeks ago. I did not tell you because you were already dealing with Lucy's ear infection and I wanted to confirm it first. He tried to get a letter. What letter? A letter saying you were emotionally unstable. The courthouse doors slid open. Cold air hit my face across the sidewalk. Daniel looked up and saw us. Tessa's voice dropped. He thought the therapist would help him take Lucy, she said, but Dr. Sloan documented the request. Daniel stared at me through the glass. My daughter shifted against my chest. I held her closer and walked into the morning, finally understanding that my husband had not acted out of fear. He had acted from a plan. And plans left paper trails. I went back to the house at 3:15 that afternoon. Karen told me not to go alone. Tessa offered to come. The temporary order allowed Daniel 3 scheduled visits, but it did not require me to abandon my own home. Still, the thought of walking through that front door made my skin prickle. The house had been my grandmother's before it was mine. A yellow bungalow with a white porch, old rosebushes along the fence, and a kitchen window that caught the morning sun. When I was little, I thought it was the safest place on earth. Daniel used to say he loved that about it. It feels like history. He told me the first time I brought him there. Later, after we married, history became clutter. The rosebushes became a landscaping problem. My grandmother's china became old lady plates. The kitchen became too small for entertaining clients. He had never loved the house, he loved that I owned it. Tessa parked behind me in the driveway. She insisted on following in her own car. In case I needed to leave fast, phone recording, she asked through my open window. State law allows one-party consent. I said, good, still, don't bait him, just document. I nodded. Lucy was with our neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, who had watched me grow up and had cried when I asked if she could sit with the baby for 1 hour. I hated leaving Lucy even that long, but I needed diapers, her sleep sack, medical papers, and the backup drive from my office. I also needed to see what Daniel had taken. The front door opened with my key. For half a second, the smell of home hurt me. Lemon cleaner, baby powder, the faint sweetness of the apples Mrs. Alvarez brought over last week. Under it all, Daniel's cologne. Tessa stepped in behind me and locked the door. Where first? Nursery. I moved through the living room without touching anything. Daniel's coffee mug sat in the sink. Linda's scarf was draped over the armchair. A stack of folded baby clothes sat on the couch, sorted by size, not by use. Because Linda cared more about appearances than whether I could find a clean Odyssey at 2 a.m. The nursery door was half open. I pushed it gently. The room looked wrong. Lucy's crib stood against the wall beneath the framed print of moon phases I had bought before she was born. Her mobile hung still. The rocking chair was angled toward the window. The rug was clean, too clean. Someone had staged it. The messy drawers from Daniel's exhibit were now perfectly arranged, burp cloths folded into little rectangles, diapers stacked by brand, stuffed animals lined on the shelf. A good mother's nursery or a good father's exhibit. Tessa muttered, "Oh, he is sick." I crossed to the dresser. The top drawer was missing Lucy's medication log. The second drawer was missing her extra pacifiers. The third drawer had been emptied of the sleep sacks she actually used and filled with decorative blankets Linda loved because they photographed well. Take pictures, Tessa said. I photographed everything. Drawer, shelf, empty space where the medication log had been, the hook where the diaper bag usually hung. Then I opened the closet. Inside, behind a box of newborn clothes, sat a white binder. I did not recognize it. My name was on the spine, Mara Pierce. Incidents. For a moment, I simply stood there. Tessa came up beside me. "Do you want me to open it?" "No." My hand was cold when I pulled it out. We set it on the changing table. I opened the cover. The first page was typed Emergency Parenting Plan for Lucy and Pierce, prepared by Daniel Pierce. Beneath that was a table of contents, documented maternal instability, feeding neglect, sleep deprivation concerns, isolation from paternal family, therapy, and mental health concerns, recommended temporary placement. I turned the page. Photos. Me asleep in the rocking chair with Lucy against my chest. I remembered that night. Lucy had refused to settle unless she heard my heartbeat. I had sat upright for 40 minutes, terrified of falling asleep, and Daniel had come in, taken a photo, and said, "You look beautiful like this." Now the caption read, "Mother asleep while holding infant in unsafe position." Another photo, laundry piled in the hallway. Caption, "Household disorder." Another, a sink full of bottles. Caption, "Sanitation concerns." I pressed one hand flat against the page until my fingers stopped trembling. Tessa's voice was low. "Mara, I know, look at me." I did. "This is not evidence of being unfit. This is evidence that he has been documenting you instead of helping you." That sentence steadied me. I turned another page. Printed texts, cropped, every message that made me sound desperate. None of the ones that showed why. Then came a section labeled third-party observations. Linda Pierce, Mara becomes hostile when offered support. Savannah Brooks, Daniel has expressed reasonable fear that Mara may harm his public reputation and isolate child from stable paternal support. I read Savannah's name twice. What public reputation? Tessa asked. I already knew. Daniel's company was preparing to launch a family finance app, some sleek subscription platform for new parents trying to plan budgets, childcare, insurance, college savings. He had been obsessed with the branding for months. "Trust starts at home," that was the slogan Savannah wrote. A custody fight against an unstable mother would ruin the slogan unless Daniel became the hero, the protective father, the man who saved his daughter. I turned the page and found an email printout from Savannah Brooks to Daniel Pierce. Subject, Narrative strategy. Daniel, I know this feels personal, but if this becomes public, the stable father angle can work in your favor. The key is consistency. Do not sound angry, sound concerned. Do not say she is difficult. Say she is overwhelmed. If she reacts, the unstable angle works. My mouth went dry. There it was, not concerned. Strategy. Tessa took a picture over my shoulder. Keep going, she said. The next email was worse, from Daniel to Savannah. I need primary custody before launch. If Mara has Lucy most of the time, she controls the story and the house. If I can establish she is unstable, Karen will advise her to settle. Once she settles, she will stop fighting me on the home access issue. Home access, not just Lucy, the house. My grandmother's house. The nursery walls seemed to tilt toward me. Tessa read the email and said a word she almost never said. I closed my eyes for 1 second. In that darkness, I saw my grandmother at the kitchen table, rolling pie dough with flour on her wrists, telling me, never let a man make you feel like shelter is something he gives you when your name is on the deed. I opened my eyes. Photograph everything, I said. Tessa did not smile, but pride flickered across her face. We worked fast, page by page, exhibit by exhibit, emails, notes, printed screenshots, a calendar with dates circled in red, pediatric appointment, therapy session, night Mara cried, day Mara refused Linda visit. Then I found the small black drive clipped into the binder's back pocket. What is that? Tessa asked. I recognized the brand, Baby Monitor Export. The monitor in Lucy's nursery recorded motion clips automatically. Daniel said that feature was excessive until he realized it could capture me exhausted, unwashed, or crying. I had forgotten the monitor saved to the household account. We plugged the drive into my laptop in the office. The first clip opened. Nursery, 1:17 a.m. Me standing beside the crib, rocking Lucy. Daniel in the doorway. Audio crackled. You need to calm down, he said in the clip. I am calm, my recorded voice answered. I'm asking you to stop turning on the overhead light when she is almost asleep. You sound hysterical. I'm whispering. You always think your tone is better than it is. I watched myself turn away from him and continue rocking the baby. Clip ended. Another kitchen, 11:42 p.m. Linda's voice from the doorway. If she snaps, Daniel, you need documentation. Judges do not give babies to women who can't control themselves, Daniel said. I know, Linda said. Push carefully. Do not leave marks. The room went silent except for the laptop fan. Tessa slowly reached over and paused the video. My ears rang. Push carefully. Do not leave marks. The words were not a metaphor. Not exactly. They were instructions, emotional instructions, legal instructions. The family recipe for making a woman look dangerous without ever touching her. Tessa's voice shook. I am going to destroy them. No, I said. She turned to me. I swallowed. We are going to document them. Her eyes filled. Mara, if we destroy them, he uses that too. He says we are vindictive. He says we are unstable. We document. We file. We let him explain. Tessa stared at me for a long second, then she nodded. We copied the drive. We photographed the binder. Karen told us over the phone not to remove it if Daniel could claim it as his work product. But we could document what was in my home, in my child's nursery, mixed with my property. She would handle admissibility. Later, I gathered Lucy's medical folder from the locked cabinet in my office. Daniel had missed that because he never paid attention to where actual caregiving happened. He knew where to find staged evidence. He did not know where I kept vaccine records, reflux notes, the pediatric nurse line printouts, or the calendar where every feeding and medication dose was written in my handwriting. Then I opened the desk drawer and took out my grandmother's deed, not because Daniel could take the house that day, because he had written home access like it was a prize. By the time we reached the front door, dusk had turned the windows gray. Tessa carried a box. I carried the medical folder and my laptop. When I stepped onto the porch, Daniel's car pulled up to the curb. He got out before the engine fully stopped. What are you doing? He demanded. I kept walking toward my car. He looked at the box in Tessa's arms. You cannot remove things from the house. My house, I said. His mouth tightened. Tessa lifted her phone slightly, recording. Daniel saw it and changed his voice. Mara, I'm worried about you, he said. You rushing around, taking things, making accusations. This is not helping your case. I came for Lucy's supplies and medical records. You mean you came to hide evidence? I stopped at my car and turned. Evidence of what? He walked up the driveway, hands open, face sad. The porch light came on behind him, making him look like a husband returning to a home that wanted him. You know what? He said, you have been erratic, you refuse help, you cut me out, now you are taking files. Daniel, did you create a binder called Mara Pierce Incidents? The question hit him visibly. His eyes flicked toward the nursery window. Tessa's phone caught the movement. I documented concerns, he said. Did you print emails from Savannah about a stable father angle? He said nothing. The silence answered more than his words could have. I opened my car door. Daniel stepped closer. You don't want to do this. I put the folder on the passenger seat. I think I do. If you turn this into a war, Mara, no one wins. I looked at him over the roof of the car. You filed to take my baby this morning. His face hardened. Our baby. Yes, I said, our baby. Not your brand asset. Not your mother's second chance. Not Savannah's campaign prop. His eyes went flat at Savannah's name. Tessa moved closer to me. Daniel lowered his voice. Be very careful how you talk about people who are trying to help me. Keep Lucy safe. There it is again, I said. Safe. He leaned in. Because she isn't safe with you. For 1 second, the porch, the driveway, the trees, the whole world narrowed to his face. This was the man I had loved. This was the man who knew exactly where my fear lived. He expected me to defend myself. He expected me to say, I am safe, I am a good mother. Please believe me instead, I said. Then explain that to the judge. I got into the car. Tessa followed. Daniel stood in the driveway, lit by my grandmother's porch lamp, watching us leave with his binder still hidden in the nursery and his emails copied onto my laptop. At Mrs. Alvarez's house, Lucy was asleep in a clean onacy, her tiny hands relaxed beside her face. I sat on the floor next to the couch and cried silently for 3 minutes while Tessa packed bottles into the diaper bag. Then I wiped my face, opened my phone, and emailed Karen every file. The subject line was simple: Daniel's plan at 10:08 p.m. Karen replied, do not engage with him tonight. Tomorrow we revoke every unnecessary access point. 5 minutes later, Daniel texted, you are proving the unstable angle. I stared at the message. This time, the words did not swallow me. This time, they saved themselves into evidence. At 7:30 the next morning, I removed Daniel's mother from Lucy's daycare pickup list. The daycare director, Ms. Ellis, watched me sign the authorization change with the grave expression of someone who had seen too many custody orders weaponized. At front desks, only you and Mr. Pierce, she asked. Only as stated in the temporary order, I said. He has scheduled parenting time through the exchange center. No unscheduled pickup, no grandmother pickup, no release of records without written consent from both parents or court order. Ms. Ellis read the court order carefully. Lucy sat in her infant seat beside my chair, chewing the edge of her soft giraffe toy with great concentration. Her eyes were brighter than mine. That felt like a victory. Ms. Ellis made copies. I'll put an alert on the account, thank you. She paused before handing back the papers. Mrs. Pierce, should we expect trouble? The honest answer was yes. The answer a mother gives when she needs people to take her seriously without sounding dramatic is different. I hope not, I said. But I would like staff to follow the order exactly. Ms. Ellis nodded. We will. My phone buzzed before I reached the parking lot. Daniel, did you change daycare authorization? I buckled Lucy into the car and did not answer. Another buzz. Mara, answer me. Another. This is exactly the kind of impulsive behavior I am documenting. I took screenshots and uploaded them. Then I drove to the bank. The joint credit card had been my mistake. Daniel insisted we needed one for household expenses after Lucy was born. I added him as an authorized user because I was tired, recovering, and desperate for one less argument. In the first month, he used it for groceries, diapers, and gas. In the second month, he used it for business lunches. In the third, he used it for a hotel bar downtown. On a night he told me he was working late with Savannah at the bank, I sat across from a young manager named Priya who listened without flinching. I want to remove him as an authorized user, I said, and freeze the card until a replacement is issued. Are you the primary account holder? Yes. She checked my ID and typed quickly. Done. That one word felt almost illegal in its simplicity. Done. Not a debate, not a family meeting, not Daniel telling me I was overreacting. Done. Priya slid a printed confirmation across the desk. You may also want to change online passwords and security questions. I will, and if there is a court matter, keep this confirmation. I plan to. From the bank, I went to the pediatric clinic. Lucy fell asleep in the stroller while I signed another form. This one restricted access to her medical records unless both parents consented or the court ordered release. Daniel could still receive necessary information as her father, but he could not call and request notes packaged to support his story. He could not send Linda to pick up records. He could not ask a nurse leading questions until someone used the phrase maternal anxiety. The receptionist, Paula, recognized me. She was also the nurse who had coached me through Lucy's reflux feeding schedule. Everything okay? She asked. I looked at Lucy sleeping under her blanket. No, I said, but I'm handling it. Paula's eyes softened. I remember the feeding call he attached to that court thing. My head snapped up. You saw it. He called yesterday asking if we could verify that you refused feeding. I told him the chart says you followed nurse instructions during a reflux episode. The floor seemed to steady under me. Can you put that in writing? Paula did not hesitate. I can document the chart note and refer the request to our records department. Thank you. She lowered her voice. You were never neglectful, Mara. I pressed my lips together. Daniel had spent months making me feel like no one would believe the ordinary truth of my care. One nurse's sentence nearly broke me. I did not cry. I thanked her, took Lucy home to Mrs. Alvarez's house, and sat at the kitchen table while Lucy napped in a portable crib. Tessa arrived with coffee and a stack of color-coded folders. You look terrifying, she said. I feel efficient. Even better. We sorted everything. Red folder, Daniel's claims. Blue folder, original context. Green folder, medical records. Yellow folder, therapy. Purple folder, financial and property. It should have felt absurd, turning my marriage into office supplies. Instead, it felt like air. Daniel had organized lies in a binder. I could organize truth at 2:12 p.m. My phone rang. Daycare. My hand tightened around the mug. Mrs. Pierce, MS, Ellis said. Mr. Pierce is here. Tessa's head lifted. I put the phone on speaker. Is Lucy there? No. You picked her up after morning care. He is asking for access to her cubby and records. He says there has been a misunderstanding. My pulse slowed instead of quickening. Of course, Daniel did not know I had already taken Lucy home. He had gone to the daycare to perform fatherhood for an audience and found a locked door. What is he doing now? I asked. He is at the front desk. He is upset, but not shouting. Not shouting meant he had witnesses. Please follow the court order. I said, if he refuses to leave, call security, and could you document the incident? Already started. Through the speaker, I heard Daniel's voice faintly in the background. I am her father, MS, Ellis said away from the phone. Mr. Pierce, as I explained, the order does not authorize an unscheduled pickup or file access today. His voice sharpened. This is my child, Tessa mouthed. There it is. I closed my eyes for one breath. MS, Ellis, I said, I am available if staff need confirmation, but I will not speak with him directly. Understood. The call ended. Daniel called me. Immediately I let it ring. He called again. I let it ring. Then came texts. You had no right to embarrass me at daycare. You are escalating. You are acting irrationally. Judges notice patterns. Mara, I saved them all at 2:31. Karen called. Daniel went to the daycare. Yes, good. I blinked. Good. Not good morally, good evidentially. He violated the spirit of the order within 24 hours. Did they document it? Yes, excellent. Now, listen carefully. He will try to provoke direct contact. Do not give it to him. Communicate only through the parenting app once we set it up. Can we do that today? I already filed the request. For a moment I could not speak. Karen continued. Also, I reviewed the binder photos. The Savannah emails are significant. The baby monitor clips may be significant. The therapist notes will be central. We need chain of custody on the drive. Do not alter the files. I won't. And Mara, yes, you did well today. I looked at Lucy's sleeping face across the room. I did not feel strong. Strength is not a feeling. It is behavior under pressure. After we hung up, Tessa raised her coffee cup to behavior under pressure. I almost smiled that evening. Daniel came to the house. I saw him first on the porch camera from Mrs. Alvarez's couch. He stood at my front door with a paper bag in one hand and flowers in the other, as if he had decided which husband costume to wear. Mrs. Alvarez leaned over my shoulder. "He has a lot of nerve," she said. "He has a lot of strategy." Daniel rang the bell. My phone lit with the live feed. He looked directly at the camera. "Mara, I know you are inside." I was not. That small fact gave me a strange satisfaction. He rang again, then he held up the flowers. "I brought dinner," he said. "Can we please talk like adults?" Tessa, sitting on the floor with Lucy, made a gagging sound. Daniel waited, no answer. His smile thinned. "Mara, ignoring me is not stable co-parenting." There it was, always the word, always the leash. He put the flowers on the porch and lifted the paper bag. "I'm trying," he said. "You need to meet me halfway." Then he leaned closer to the camera, and his voice dropped. "You do not want me telling the court you are refusing all communication." I saved the video. He left after 7 minutes at 7:03 p.m. I received an email from the new parenting app Karen had requested. Court-approved communication platform. All messages preserved. No edits, no deletes. At 7:09 p.m., Daniel sent the first message. "Mara, I attempted to deliver dinner and flowers to encourage peaceful resolution. You refused to answer the door. I remain concerned about your isolation and decision-making." I read it twice. Then I typed, "Per temporary order and counsel instruction. All custody-related communication should remain on this app. I will respond to specific issues about Lucy's care and scheduled exchanges. I will not discuss litigation, my mental health, or unsupported accusations." I hit send before fear could edit me into softness. Daniel replied 6 minutes later, "Your coldness is not helping you." I looked at Lucy, who was awake now, blinking up at the ceiling fan with solemn fascination. Coldness. For years, I had been too emotional. Now I was too cold. There was no correct temperature for a woman who refused to be controlled. I did not answer. The next morning, Ms. Ellis emailed Karen the daycare incident report. Daniel had demanded access. Daniel had raised his voice. Daniel had stated that the mother was unstable and the daycare was enabling a dangerous situation. Daniel had left only after. The director said security would be called. His first stage cost was small. No handcuffs, no dramatic downfall, no public collapse. Just a locked daycare door, just a written report, just the first official record showing that Daniel Pierce did not follow orders when control was denied that night. After Lucy finally slept, I stood in my grandmother's kitchen with the court order on the table, the bank confirmation beside it, and Daniel's flowers still wilting on the porch camera feed. Tessa washed bottles at the sink. "You know he is going to escalate," she said. "I know. What do you think he'll do next?" I looked at the parenting app. Daniel was typing. The dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then the message came through. "I would like to meet privately tomorrow to discuss a safety agreement that could prevent further court conflict." I read it once, then again. A safety agreement. My skin went cold. I turned the phone toward Tessa. She read it and whispered, "Legal trap." Daniel had lost the daycare. He had lost the credit card. He had lost the hallway performance. Now he wanted my signature. And I knew exactly which word he would try to put above it. Unstable. Daniel chose a coffee shop with glass walls. That told me everything. He wanted visibility. He wanted witnesses. He wanted to sit across from me in public with warm drinks between us, looking like the reasonable husband trying to rescue a broken marriage. Karen told me not to go, then she changed her mind when I forwarded Daniel's message. "Go only if Tessa sits nearby and records notes," she said. "Do not secretly record if you are unsure about consent at the location. Do not accept documents as agreed. Take them for review. Say almost nothing. Almost nothing is becoming my specialty." Good. He hates that. The coffee shop sat 3 blocks from the courthouse, full of lawyers, parents, laptop workers, and people who did not know their table could become Exhibit G. I arrived 5 minutes early. Tessa took a table by the window with a book she did not open. Karen waited in her office on standby. Lucy stayed with Mrs. Alvarez. I felt naked without the baby's weight against me. Daniel arrived carrying flowers again, white tulips this time, my favorite, or they had been. Before he learned to weaponize details, he wore no tie, just a soft sweater under his coat. Husband, not executive, regretful, not strategic. His hair looked slightly less perfect, as if he had practiced looking sleepless. Mara, he said. I did not stand. He set the flowers on the table. I looked at them, then at him. How is Lucy? You can ask about Lucy on the parenting app. Pain crossed his face. It almost looked real. I hate that we are doing this. You filed an emergency motion. I was scared. You had a binder in the nursery. His eyes flickered. You went through my private notes. They were in my house, in our daughter's room. Our daughter. See, you can say it when you want to. I folded my hands in my lap under the table. Where he could not see my fingers curl, Daniel sighed and sat down. I do not want to fight. I said nothing. He glanced toward Tessa. Did you have to bring your sister? Yes. She feeds your fear. No. She remembers things accurately. His mouth tightened. He reached into his leather messenger bag and pulled out a blue folder, the same color as MS, Vaughant's court folder. He placed it on the table between us. I had Elaine draft something informal, he said, not a court order, just a temporary safety agreement. If we can agree, we can avoid making this worse. I did not touch it. What does it say? It says you recognize you are under stress and agree that Lucy should stay with me overnight until your therapist confirms you are ready for unsupervised care. The coffee shop noise thinned around me. I heard the milk steamer scream behind the counter, a spoon clink against ceramic. Someone laugh near the door. My husband watched my face, ready, as if motherhood were a privilege he could suspend. Anything else? I asked. His shoulders eased slightly. He mistook my calm for openness. You would agree not to remove Lucy from the county without my written permission. The court already ordered that for both of us. This clarifies your compliance. I nodded once. What else? You would temporarily grant me medical decision authority. No. The word was instant. Daniel's expression changed. Mara, listen. No. You are reacting emotionally. I am answering clearly. He leaned forward. Lucy needs one stable decision maker. She has one. He almost smiled. You mean yourself? Yes. The smile vanished. You cannot keep doing this, he said. You cannot act like therapy is a shield against reality. Therapy is not the issue. It is the issue. You think Dr. Sloan is going to save you because she likes you, but the court cares about records, not feelings. Then the court can read the records. He sat back. There it was again. That flash of uncertainty. He covered it by opening the folder and sliding the first page toward me. Temporary Safety and Parenting Stabilization Agreement. The title alone made me want to throw it back at him. I read without picking it up. Mother acknowledges recent emotional instability. Mother agrees that minor child is best served by residing primarily with father during mother's recovery. Mother agrees not to disparage father or paternal family. Mother agrees to provide father unrestricted access to home for retrieval of child's belongings. Home again. He wanted the house inside the custody agreement, not just Lucy. Never just Lucy. I looked up. Why does this include home access? Daniel spread his hands. Lucy's belongings are there. Lucy's belongings can be exchanged. It is still my home too. No, Daniel, it is not. His eyes hardened. We are married. The deed is mine. Do you hear yourself? This is the kind of controlling behavior I am talking about. I almost admired the speed of it. If I defended my child, I was unstable. If I defended my house, I was controlling. If I defended my privacy, I was secretive. If I defended my boundaries, I was hostile. Every path led back to his accusation. I slid the folder back without signing. My attorney will review any document. His jaw flexed. Of course. Karen, yes. You know she is making money off this conflict, and Savannah is doing it for free. That hit. Daniel's face changed so quickly I knew I had found a nerve. Savannah has nothing to do with this. She wrote narrative strategy emails. He went still. I watched him calculate, deny, deflect, attack. He chose attack. You went through private communications, you printed them and left them in the nursery. He leaned forward, voice low. Be careful, Mara. Tessa shifted at the window table. Daniel saw her move and leaned back again. You think you are building some big case, he said, softening his voice for the room. But what the judge will see is a mother who refuses cooperation, refuses help, and surrounds herself with people who encourage paranoia. I stood, he blinked. We're not done. We are, Mara. I picked up the blue folder with 2 fingers and placed it in my tote. My attorney will respond. His eyes dropped to the bag. You are making a mistake. No, I said, I made mistakes when I signed things you explained to me. I am done doing that. For a second, the real Daniel looked out through his polished face, cold, angry, entitled. Then he smiled. You were not like this before therapy. No, I said, before therapy. I thought pain meant I was failing. Now I know pain is information. I left him at the table with the white tulips. Tessa followed me outside. The cold air slapped color into my face. You were incredible, she said. I wanted to scream. You didn't. I wanted to throw the coffee. You didn't. I wanted to ask how he could do this to me. Tessa's face softened. I know. But he would have liked that. Yes, she said, he would have. We took the folder straight to Karen's office. Karen read the first page and said, absolutely not. By the 3rd page, she said a second word I had never heard from her. By the 5th, she leaned back in her chair and removed her glasses. This is not an informal agreement, she said. This is an attempted custody surrender wrapped in therapeutic language. Tessa sat beside me, rigid with anger. Karen tapped the page. This line about medical decision authority is dangerous. This line about home access is irrelevant to child safety and financially motivated. This line acknowledging instability would be used against you immediately. I know. Karen looked at me over the paper. Do you? Yes, I said. That is why I did not sign it. Her face softened. Good. She scanned the attachment. Then her expression sharpened. Where did he get this? What? She turned the folder toward me. Attachment C. Therapeutic concerns. It quoted Dr. Sloan. Client presents with ongoing emotional volatility and significant anxiety regarding paternal family involvement. I stared at the sentence. I have never seen that. Tessa leaned forward. That is not how Dr. Sloan writes. Karen flipped the page. There is no letterhead, no date, no signature. Could it be from the notes? I asked. Tessa shook her head. Dr. Sloan wrote that you had anxiety in response to repeated boundary violations by paternal family. I remember because Daniel was furious about the phrase boundary violations. Karen marked the page with a sticky note. Then he has either misquoted a record he does not possess or fabricated a therapeutic summary. The room went still. Fabricated. Daniel had not only weaponized my therapy, he may have invented part of it. Karen picked up her phone. We request an immediate statement from Dr. Sloan regarding authenticity. We also file this as evidence of attempted coercion. Tessa looked at me. Mara. I was staring at the blue folder, at Daniel's neat little title. Safety, stabilization, recovery, words that sounded kind until they were placed around my throat. I'm okay, I said, and I was, in the strangest way, not because it did not hurt, it hurt everywhere, but because Daniel had made another mistake. He had thought I would be so ashamed of therapy that I would never compare his version to the real notes. At 6:40 p.m. Savannah posted a photo on social media. It showed Daniel from behind, sitting alone at the coffee shop table, white tulips beside his untouched cup. Caption: Some fathers fight quietly for their children, while others only see control. Stability matters. Children deserve peace. She did not name me. She did not have to. By 7:15, 2 women from our old parent group had viewed my profile. By 8:00, one sent a message: I hope you're getting help. Daniel seems really worried. I took a screenshot. By 8:20, another wrote: please don't use Lucy to punish him. Babies need fathers too. I took another screenshot. At 8:33, Daniel messaged through the parenting app. I saw Savannah's post. I did not ask her to write that. But people are noticing. It would be better for everyone if you signed the safety agreement before this becomes public. I looked at Lucy asleep in the portable crib beside my bed, 6 months old, soft hair, tiny breath, one sock always working itself loose. She did not know what public meant. She did not know what unstable meant. She only knew who came when she cried. I typed back: I will not sign. Do not contact me about this again except through counsel. Daniel replied: then court it is. I saved it. 3 minutes later, Karen forwarded a message from Dr. Sloan's office. The quoted therapeutic concerns attachment was not authored by Dr. Sloan. The real notes were ready for legal review. Tessa read the email over my shoulder. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. He forged the shape of your pain. I looked at the blue folder on my desk. No, I said, he forged the shape of his fear. Because Daniel was afraid now, not of losing Lucy, not really, he was afraid that the woman he called unstable had stopped begging to be understood. Dr. Helen Sloane's office was on the third floor of a brick medical building behind a dental clinic and a physical therapy practice. I had gone there for the first time 8 weeks after Lucy was born, wearing maternity sweatpants and a shirt with dried milk on the collar. I remembered sitting in the parking lot for 12 minutes, unable to open the car door. Daniel had called twice while I sat there. The first time, he asked whether therapy was really necessary. The second time, he said, just don't say anything that makes me look bad. That was the moment I went inside. Now I returned with Tessa on my left and Karen on my right. The waiting room had the same soft grey chairs, the same bowl of wrapped peppermints, the same framed print that said healing is not linear. I used to hate that print because it sounded like permission to keep hurting. Today it looked more like evidence. Dr. Sloane opened her office door herself. She was in her 50s, with silver blonde hair and a calm face that never looked surprised. During our sessions, that calm had once made me nervous. I thought she was waiting to judge me. She never did. Mara, she said, come in. Her office smelled like tea and old books. There was a blue couch, 2 armchairs, a low table with tissues, and a window overlooking the parking lot. I had cried on that couch. I had admitted I was scared of my husband there. I had said out loud, sometimes I worry I'm becoming what he says I am. Dr. Sloane had asked, and who benefits when you believe that? I did not understand the question then. I did now. Karen handled the legal language first. Limited release, scope, relevance to parenting capacity, permission for Dr. Sloane to provide records and testify if subpoenaed, protection for sensitive material not related to custody. I signed where Karen pointed. My hand shook once, only once. Dr. Sloane noticed but did not comment. When the papers were complete, she folded her hands. I want to be clear, she said, seeking therapy postpartum is not evidence of parental unfitness. I know that here, I said, touching my head. I am still trying to know it here. I did not touch my chest. I did not need to. Dr. Sloane nodded. That is understandable. Karen opened the blue folder from Daniel's coffee shop trap. Did you author this attachment? Dr. Sloane put on her glasses and read. Her expression did not change until she reached the second paragraph. Then she removed her glasses. No, one of the sentences resembles your wording, Karen asked. It appears to distort it. She turned to her computer and printed a page. She handed it to Karen first. Karen read silently, then she passed it to me. Session note, March 14. Client presents lucid, oriented, and appropriately bonded with infant, reports exhaustion, intrusive self-doubt, and heightened anxiety in response to repeated boundary violations by spouse and paternal grandmother. No indication of psychosis, intent to self-harm, or intent to harm infant. Client demonstrates protective decision making, seeks pediatric guidance appropriately, and expresses desire for cooperative co-parenting if emotional safety can be maintained. I read the words until they blurred. Lucid, oriented, appropriately bonded, protective, not perfect, not effortless. Not the glowing mother from diaper ads and family finance app campaigns, but real, responsible, safe. Tessa took the paper when I handed it to her, her mouth pressed into a thin line. Dr. Sloane printed more. This is the contact log, she said. Daniel's name appeared repeatedly. February the 22nd. Spouse called requesting general confirmation that client attended treatment. No release on file for disclosure to spouse. No information provided. March the 2nd. Spouse left voicemail expressing concern that client exaggerates marital conflict and asking provider to avoid encouraging victim language. No information provided. March the 21st. Spouse called after session requesting provider document that client is unstable around baby. Provider informed spouse no information could be disclosed and declined to make unsupported statements. April the 5th. Spouse emailed office asking whether provider could write letter stating client needs rest away from infant. No clinical basis for such letter. No release permitting discussion. I stopped reading. The room was so quiet I could hear the clock tick. Karen's voice was low. He contacted you 4 times. 5. Dr. Sloan said she printed another page April the 19th. Spouse appeared in office lobby without appointment. Asked front desk whether provider would support emergency custody if wife refuses reasonable placement. Provider met spouse briefly in waiting area to inform him again that no collateral discussion could occur without client consent and that any concerns regarding child safety should be directed to appropriate authorities if immediate. Spouse became agitated and stated, if she reacts badly enough, you'll have to write it down. Spouse left after being asked to do so by office manager Tessa. Whispered, my God, I did not whisper anything, I could see him there, Daniel in this waiting room. Daniel in his navy coat, charming the receptionist, lowering his voice, saying wife instead of Mara. Daniel trying to enter the place where I was learning to trust my own mind and turn it into another room he controlled. Dr. Sloan looked at me. I am sorry. I shook my head. You wrote it down. Yes, that matters more. Karen arranged the pages carefully. These records directly contradict his petition. They also establish a pattern. Tessa said. Karen glanced at her, which is why your testimony matters. Tessa looked at me. I looked down at the paper in my lap. Tessa had been present for 3 sessions as my support person after Daniel accused her of turning me against him. Dr. Sloan suggested a support session to help me identify what was happening without relying only on memory, because gaslighting had made me second-guess dates, words, even my own tone. Tessa had sat beside me while I described Daniel standing in the nursery doorway, saying, a court would take one look at you right now. She had written it down because I could not at the time. It felt humiliating, now it felt like a bridge. Karen asked Dr. Sloan about testifying. Dr. Sloan agreed, carefully. I can testify to my records, clinical impressions, and contacts from Mr. Pierce. I will not speculate beyond that. Of course, Karen said, that is all we need. Then Dr. Sloan turned to me. Mara, I need to ask you something directly. Are you comfortable with these records being used? Even limited records may expose details you did not want shared. I looked at the page again. Exhaustion, anxiety, boundary violations, those words felt intimate. But Daniel had already exposed a false version of me. He had hung a monster in the courtroom and given it my name. I am not comfortable, I said, but I consent. Dr. Sloan's face softened. Those are different things. Yes, and both can be true. Yes, Karen put the signed release in her folder. Tessa reached over and squeezed my hand under the table. For a moment, I remembered another table, my kitchen table, 2 months earlier, Lucy asleep upstairs. Tessa across from me with her notebook open while I tried to explain why I kept apologizing to Daniel even when he was the one who scared me. I don't want to make him sound abusive, I had said then. Tessa had looked up, eyes wet and angry. Mara, naming harm is not creating it. Now I sat in Dr. Sloan's office with Daniel's harm named in dates, calls, and notes. When we left, Karen walked us to the parking lot. I am filing a response today, she said. We will ask the court to consider petitioner's misuse of mental health records, attempted coercion through the safety agreement, unauthorized daycare contact, and possible fabrication. What happens next? He will deny. He will claim misunderstanding. He may accuse you of weaponizing therapy. He already weaponized it. Yes, Karen said, but he will not see the difference. Tessa snorted. Of course he won't. Karen looked at both of us. This gets harder before it gets better. Daniel will realize the notes hurt him. People like him do not usually respond by backing down. What will he do? I asked. He may smear you publicly. He may claim parental alienation. He may attempt a welfare check. He may pressure family. He may use Savannah as a character witness. The mention of Savannah made my stomach tighten. Karen noticed. Do not contact her. I won't. If she contacts you, document it. She will. Tessa and Karen both looked at me. I thought of Savannah's post. Some fathers fight quietly. Stability matters. She wants my chair, I said. Tessa frowned. What chair? The mother chair, the one beside Daniel in the public picture. She doesn't just want him. She wants to be the stable woman next to the unstable one. Karen's expression sharpened with professional interest. Then let her talk. People who want a role often overperform. That afternoon, Karen filed the response. It was 17 pages. I read every word after Lucy went down for her nap. Respondent denies all allegations of neglect or emotional unfitness. Petitioner has mischaracterized postpartum therapy as instability. Petitioner attempted to obtain unsupported clinical statements from respondent's therapist. Petitioner presented respondent with a coercive agreement containing false therapeutic assertions. Petitioner has violated boundaries regarding daycare access and medical information. Attached exhibits included the daycare incident report, Paula's clinic note, the blue folder agreement, the unauthenticated therapeutic attachment, and Dr. Sloane's contact log. Not all the notes yet. Enough to show the court there was smoke coming from Daniel's side of the room at 5:12 p.m. Daniel messaged through the parenting app, "I cannot believe you dragged your therapist into this. This is exactly why I worry about your judgment." I stared at the message, then typed, "My attorney will respond to litigation issues." He replied, "You are letting Tessa ruin our family." I did not answer. A minute later, "She has always hated me." No answer. "She is not Lucy's parent." No answer. At 5:20, he sent one more, "When this is over, you will have to explain to Lucy why you tried to keep her from me." My hand hovered over the phone. There were so many things I wanted to say. "When this is over, you will have to explain why you tried to take her from the person who feeds her at 3 a.m. When this is over, you will have to explain why you called her mother unstable because you wanted a house and a brand story. When this is over, you will have to explain why you made love sound like a custody strategy. Instead, I saved the messages. Tessa came in carrying Lucy, who had woken from her nap with a red cheek and a furious expression. "Someone wants her mama," she said. "I took my daughter." Lucy pressed her face into my shoulder and settled. "That was my testimony. Not enough for court, maybe, but enough for me." The next day, Dr. Sloane's office sent Karen the certified record packet. Karen forwarded me one excerpt with a note. "You should see this before he does." Session note, April 2. Client states spouse repeatedly describes her as unstable when she sets boundaries regarding infant care. Client asks, "What if he is right?" Clinician observed no disorganized thinking. Client's fear appears connected to sustained invalidation and coercive control. Client remains focused on infant's needs and demonstrates intact judgment. Recommended continued support, sleep protection, and legal consultation if spouse escalates threats regarding custody. I read the final sentence 3 times. Legal consultation if spouse escalates threats regarding custody. Dr. Sloane had seen the road before I did. At 9:04 that night, Savannah sent me a message from a number I did not know. "Mara, I know you see me as the enemy, but Daniel is drowning. Lucy needs adults who put her first. Maybe it would help if you and I talked woman to woman." I showed Tessa. She said, "That woman has never said anything woman to woman in her life." I almost laughed. Instead, I replied with Karen's approved line, "Do not contact me directly. Any information relevant to custody may be sent to counsel." Savannah responded instantly, "That defensive tone is why people are worried." There it was, not Daniel's word but Daniel's work. I saved the message, then I blocked the number. At 11:36 p.m., the porch camera sent an alert, motion detected. I opened the feed. Daniel stood on my porch again. This time, he had no flowers. He looked into the camera with a face stripped of softness. "You think those notes make you look good," he said. My blood went cold. He stepped closer. "They show you were scared. They show you were anxious. They show you needed help. I will make sure everyone sees that." He smiled. "And when Lucy is older, I will make sure she sees it too." I saved the video with a hand that did not shake. Daniel still thought my shame was bigger than my love for my child. He was wrong. The first supervised exchange took place at a beige building beside a family counseling center, Neutral Exchange Services. The sign said nothing about it felt neutral. The lobby had plastic chairs, a toy bin, a security camera, and a front desk protected by glass. A staff member named Gloria checked the court order, copied my ID, and explained the process. "You arrive 15 minutes before the other parent," she said. "You leave before he enters. We transfer the child. No contact between parties unless ordered." Lucy sat in my lap, chewing the strap of my purse. I nodded. Gloria looked at me carefully. "Do you have any concerns about the exchange today?" I thought of Daniel on my porch. I thought of his message about Lucy seeing my therapy records someday. I thought of Savannah's woman-to-woman text. Yes, I said. I am concerned he may bring someone not authorized. Gloria made a note. Only the parent may enter unless approved. We will enforce that. 15 minutes later, I kissed Lucy's soft cheek and handed her to Gloria. Lucy looked confused, then reached for my hair. My heart tore in a place no court order could see. It is just 2 hours, Gloria said gently. I nodded because if I tried to speak, I would cry. I left through the side door and sat in my car in the back lot, where Daniel could not see me. The exchange center required me to leave, but Karen had asked me to stay nearby for the first visit in case staff called. Tessa sat in the passenger seat with a bag of pretzels she had opened but not eaten. At 10:05, Daniel walked up to the front entrance. Savannah walked beside him. I gripped the steering wheel. She was wearing cream trousers, a camel coat, and the kind of soft waves that looked effortless after 90 minutes with a curling iron. She carried a small gift bag printed with stars. Tessa leaned forward. No way. Daniel opened the door for Savannah. They disappeared inside. My phone rang 2 minutes later. Gloria, Mrs. Pierce, Mr. Pierce arrived with a third party. We informed him she cannot participate. He is upset. Is Lucy okay? Yes, she is with staff. I exhaled. Please document it. We are. Through the phone, I heard Daniel's voice. She is my family support person, Gloria said away from the receiver. The order does not authorize support persons. Savannah's voice followed, smooth and wounded. I am only here because Lucy knows me. My stomach turned. Lucy did not know Savannah. Savannah had seen her twice, once at Daniel's office holiday party, when Lucy was 3 months old, and once through the car window when she dropped off documents at our house. Daniel's voice sharpened. This is ridiculous. Mara brings Tessa everywhere. Gloria replied, Ms. Whitfield does not enter during your parenting time. A pause, then Savannah said, lower but still audible. This is exactly the kind of hostility Daniel warned me about. Tessa looked at me. I closed my eyes. Of course Savannah would make herself the rejected caretaker. Of course Daniel would try to normalize her presence before the custody evaluation. A stable father with a stable woman beside him, a replacement family. Gloria came back on the line. We have asked the third party to leave the premises. Thank you, I said. Savannah emerged from the building first. She stood on the sidewalk, gift bag dangling from her fingers, face tight with embarrassment. Then she saw my car. Her expression changed. She walked toward us. Tessa said, do not roll down the window. Savannah stopped beside my door and tapped the glass. I lowered it 2 inches. Mara, she said, this is childish. I turned on my phone camera and placed it on the dashboard in plain view. This conversation is being documented. I said, do not discuss custody with me. Her eyes flicked to the phone, then she smiled. I'm not discussing custody. I'm discussing Lucy's well-being. That is custody. She shifted the gift bag to her other hand. You know, Daniel told me you would be like this. Like what? Defensive. Territorial. Tessa made a soft sound. Savannah ignored her. I came because Lucy deserves consistency. She is going through a traumatic transition, and I have experience with family systems. You are a branding consultant. I work with family-centered companies. That is not the same as knowing my child. Her smile thinned. I know Daniel, she said, and I know he is trying to build a healthy home. You keep acting as if everyone wants to hurt you. I looked at her carefully. Savannah was not stupid. That made her more dangerous. She knew enough therapeutic language to make ambition sound like care. You wrote the narrative strategy email, I said. Her eyes flashed, then she laughed. Daniel said you found that. He printed it. That email was professional advice, about making me look unstable, about managing risk. What risk? She leaned closer to the window. You, she said. There it was, not dressed up, not softened, just the truth in one syllable. Tessa's hand moved toward the door handle. I touched her wrist. Savannah saw the movement and smiled again. You think this looks good? Your sister ready to jump out of the car because someone tells you the truth? I said nothing. Savannah continued, voice low and sharp now. Daniel is going to win because he understands optics. You still think being a good mother is enough. It isn't. Courts look at stability. Judges look at who can provide a calm environment. You show up with folders and panic, and your sister like a bodyguard. I show up with Daniel, a plan, and a home that doesn't revolve around your feelings. My heartbeat slowed. She was giving me more than I asked for. You and Daniel discussed optics. I asked, her eyes narrowed. Everyone does. And the unstable angle, she looked toward the building, then back at me. I told him if you reacted, people would see what he had been dealing with, so the goal was to get me to react. The goal was to protect Lucy. By provoking me, Savannah's mouth opened, then closed for the first time. She seemed to realize the shape of the conversation. I touched the phone screen so she could see it was still recording. You should leave, I said. Color rose in her cheeks. You are not as calm as you think you are. Then you should stop trying to provoke me in a parking lot outside a court-ordered exchange center. Tessa whispered. Beautiful. Savannah stepped back for 1 second. She looked younger, less polished, angry in a way Daniel would never let himself appear in public. Then she lifted the gift bag. I brought Lucy a blanket, she said. Since some of us care about making her comfortable, leave it with Daniel's attorney. She threw the bag into a trash can by the sidewalk. Then she walked away. Tessa and I sat in silence. Finally Tessa said, please tell me the audio got that. It did. Karen is going to send you a fruit basket. I did not laugh. Through the exchange center windows, I could not see Lucy, but I could imagine Daniel inside, furious that Savannah had been turned away. He would blame me, he would blame the staff, he would blame the order. He would never blame himself for thinking he could bring his future public image to a supervised exchange like a prop. 2 hours later, Gloria called me to pick up Lucy. Daniel had to leave first. I waited until staff confirmed he was gone. When Lucy came back into my arms, she smelled faintly like Daniel's cologne. I hated that I noticed. I hated that part of me remembered loving that smell. Gloria handed me an incident report. Mr. Pierce repeatedly objected to the third-party exclusion. She said, he stated Ms. Brooks is part of Lucy's support system. We documented that. Thank you. She hesitated. He also asked whether your mental health restricts your ability to receive reports from us. My face went cold. He asked you that? Yes. What did you say? That we follow court orders, not informal characterizations. I looked at her through sudden tears. Thank you. Gloria's voice softened. We see a lot here. Outside, I buckled Lucy into her seat. She babbled at her giraffe toy, unaware that adults had spent 2 hours arguing about who could claim love over her life. Tessa drove behind me to Karen's office. We played the Savannah recording once. Karen listened without expression. At the line, you still think being a good mother is enough, her mouth tightened. At I show up with Daniel, a plan, and a home that doesn't revolve around your feelings. She paused. The recording, very helpful, she said. Tessa leaned back. That is lawyer for devastating. Karen ignored her, but I saw the corner of her mouth twitch. This supports the narrative strategy email, Karen said. It suggests Ms. Brooks was not a neutral support figure but an active participant in shaping allegations. We may subpoena communications between Daniel and Savannah related to custody, mental health claims, and public image. Will the court care? I asked. Courts care when a parent manufactures instability instead of addressing actual safety. Especially when the manufacturing involves a romantic partner or prospective partner. Romantic partner. The words landed differently than I expected. I had known, somewhere beneath denial, that Savannah was more than a consultant. The late meetings, the private jokes, the way Daniel started saying Savannah thinks as if her thoughts outranked mine in my own home. But hearing Karen say it in legal language made it less like heartbreak and more like motive. Daniel did not only want Lucy, he wanted a clean story for the life he had already started building. That evening, Daniel sent a parenting app message. Your behavior towards Savannah today was unacceptable. She came in good faith, and your hostility created unnecessary conflict at Lucy's exchange. I responded with Karen's approved language. The exchange center documented the incident. Please follow the order regarding authorized parties, he replied. You are jealous. I stared at the word jealous. There it was, the insult beneath the custody claim. Not unstable because I was dangerous, unstable because I was in the way. He sent another message. This is not about Savannah. It is about Lucy needing a parent who can put her needs above personal insecurity. I typed, deleted, typed again. Then I wrote only this. Lucy's needs are why I am following the court order. Daniel did not respond for 37 minutes. Then he sent a photo, a nursery, not Lucy's nursery, a new room with pale pink walls, white furniture, and a framed print that read Daddy's Girl. My stomach dropped, message below it, she will have stability here. I showed Tessa, her face went blank in the dangerous way. He made a nursery, yes, when? I zoomed in on the corner of the photo. On the rocking chair sat the starprint gift bag Savannah had thrown away. She had not thrown it away. She had performed throwing it away. Daniel sent one more message, start adjusting. I saved the photo, then I forwarded it to Karen. My daughter slept beside me that night in the portable crib, one hand open above her head. At 1:26 a.m., I woke to a new email from Karen, subject, subpoena requests. She had drafted subpoenas for Savannah's communications, the exchange center records, and Daniel's full custody preparation file. At the bottom, she wrote, "He is moving from concern to replacement. That matters." I lay awake in the dark, listening to Lucy breathe. Daniel had built a nursery in another house before any judge had given him custody. Savannah had thrown a blanket into the trash like a scene and placed it in that nursery like a claim. They were not preparing to share Lucy, they were preparing to erase me, and for the first time, I was not just fighting to defend myself from a word, I was fighting the life they had already written without me in it. Lucy woke with a fever on Friday morning, not a high one. 108, enough to make her cheeks warm and her eyes glassy, enough for me to call the pediatric nurse line, note the time, check her diaper count, and hold her upright while she fussed against my shoulder. Not enough to panic, but Daniel had trained panic into my body. Every normal baby problem now had a second shadow. What will he do with this? Paula called me back at 8:17. Any trouble breathing? She asked. No. Wet diapers. 3 since midnight. Feeding. Less than usual. But she took 4 ounces at 6. Good. Keep offering smaller feeds. Monitor temperature. And bring her in if she goes above 102. Has fewer wet diapers. Trouble breathing, or seems lethargic. I wrote every word down. Paula added, given the court situation, I'll document the call. I closed my eyes. Thank you. Tessa arrived at 9 with infant acetaminophen, electrolyte solution, and the face of an aunt ready for war. Tiny patient status. She asked, annoyed. Good, annoyed is strong. Lucy whined softly from my lap as if agreeing. I sent Daniel a parenting app message at 9:22. Lucy has a low-grade fever of 108. I called the pediatric nurse line at 8:17. Instructions are to monitor, offer smaller feeds, and seek care if symptoms worsen. I will update if there is any change. He read it at 9:24. No response. At 10:06. He wrote, I should have been called immediately. I replied, you were informed after I spoke with the nurse and had care instructions. There is no emergency at this time. He wrote, you minimized medical issues before. Screenshot upload at 11:13. Lucy's fever rose to 1015, still below the threshold, but she was miserable. I called again. Paula said I could bring her in for reassurance. If I wanted, not because Lucy was in danger, because I knew Daniel. At noon, I put Lucy in the car and drove to the pediatric clinic. Tessa followed in her car. The doctor examined Lucy, checked her ears, lungs, throat, hydration, and oxygen. Mild viral illness, supportive care. No signs of neglect, no emergency. The phrase no signs of neglect went into the note because Karen had taught me to ask for clear language. I was in the clinic parking lot buckling Lucy back into her seat when 2 police officers pulled in behind my car. For one irrational second, I thought something terrible had happened somewhere else. Then the older officer approached my window. Are you Mara Pierce? My hands went cold. Yes, we received a request for a welfare check on an infant child. The caller stated the mother was refusing medical care and may be experiencing a mental health episode. Tessa came around her car so fast the younger officer put a hand up. I'm her sister, Tessa said, and this baby just saw a doctor. The older officer looked at me. I could feel the old trap opening under my feet. If I cried, Daniel would say unstable. If I got angry, Daniel would say aggressive. If I shook, Daniel would say unsafe. Lucy whimpered in the car seat. I placed one hand on the car roof and looked at the officer. My daughter had a low-grade fever. I called the pediatric nurse line twice, notified her father through the court-approved parenting app, and brought her to this clinic. We just left an appointment. I can provide documentation. The officer's face changed slightly. May we see the child? Yes. I opened the back door. Lucy looked up with wet eyes and a furious little frown. The officer smiled gently. She doesn't look happy with any of us. Despite everything, I almost smiled. The younger officer spoke with Tessa while I pulled up the clinic discharge note on my phone. The older officer read it, then asked if the clinic could confirm. I said yes. Paula came out herself 5 minutes later. She looked at the officers, then at me, then at Lucy. Her expression cooled. This child was examined by Dr. Klein less than 15 minutes ago, she said. Mild viral fever. Mother followed appropriate care instructions and sought medical care. There are no concerns regarding neglect. The officer wrote that down. Do you know who called? I asked, though I already knew. We can't disclose all details here, he said. But the caller identified himself as the father. Tessa's breath hissed between her teeth. I kept my voice even. I would like the report number. The officer gave it to me. He also looked uncomfortable now, which told me something. Daniel had tried to make me look dangerous. Instead, he had made the police stand in a pediatric clinic parking lot while a nurse confirmed I had done exactly what a responsible parent should do before leaving. The older officer said, document everything. I said. Tessa waited until they were gone before speaking. He called the police on you while you were at the doctor. Yes. He wanted them to find you at home so he could say you refused care. Yes. And because you went to the clinic, he gave us a police report showing he lied. I looked at Lucy. My baby's cheeks were still warm. She had started sucking on her fingers, exhausted by fever and adult cruelty. I hate that she had to be part of this, I said. Tessa's face softened. I know. I hate that every fever becomes evidence. I know. I hate him. The words came out before I could stop them. Tessa did not flinch. Good, she said. Hate can be cleaner than hope. I drove home with Lucy asleep in the backseat and a police report number in my purse at 3:40. Daniel messaged, I heard you finally took her in. You are welcome. For 1 second, rage turned everything white. Tessa saw my face and reached for the phone. Do not answer, she said. I know. No, Mara, look at me. This is bait, I know. But knowing did not make it stop hurting. I had spent the morning caring for a sick baby. Measuring medicine, wiping tears, calling nurses, sitting under fluorescent clinic lights. Daniel had spent the morning turning that care into a weapon. Karen called at 4. I have the clinic note and the police report request, she said. We are filing an emergency notice regarding misuse of welfare checks. Can the judge do anything? Yes, at minimum, he can admonish Daniel. He may restrict non-emergency police calls or require communication through counsel for medical concerns. It also damages Daniel's credibility. What if he says he was just worried? He will. Then we show your time-stamped message, the nurse call, the clinic note, and the fact that he called police after being informed. I looked at the parenting app. Daniel's message sat there like a stain. You are welcome. Karen's voice softened. How is Lucy? Asleep. How are you? I almost said fine, then I said, furious. Good. Write down everything while it is fresh. I did. Every time, every temperature, every call, every instruction, every officer's name, every word. I remembered. At 6, Daniel's mother called me from an unknown number. I did not answer. She left a voicemail. Mara, this has gone far enough. Daniel called for help because he is terrified for his child. You are making him look cruel when he is only trying to protect Lucy. If you were thinking clearly, you would see that a mother who loved her baby would not turn every concern into an attack. I saved the voicemail. Then Savannah posted again. No names, just a quote graphic. Healthy parents welcome accountability. Unhealthy parents fear it. I saved it. By 8, the parent group messages started again. One woman wrote, I heard police were involved. Is the baby okay? Another wrote nothing. Just removed me from the group chat. That one hurt more than I expected, not because I needed them, because Daniel's lie traveled faster than Lucy's medical record ever could. At 9:10, Judge Ramirez's clerk emailed both attorneys the court would hold a status conference Monday morning regarding welfare check concerns and temporary order compliance. Daniel messaged at 9:18, now you are punishing me for caring. I did not answer. At 9:26, he wrote, you should think carefully before accusing a father of caring too much. I saved it. Monday morning. Courtroom 2B felt less terrifying because I knew where to sit, how to breathe, and how to keep my hands still. Daniel looked confident when he entered. That confidence faltered when Karen handed Ms. Vaughan the clinic note, nurse call log, police report number, and parenting app timestamps. Judge Ramirez read silently. Daniel's expression changed with every page. Ms. Vaughan whispered to him twice. He whispered back once. The judge looked up. Mr. Pierce, you contacted police for a welfare check after receiving notice that the child had a low-grade fever and after the mother had contacted medical providers. Daniel stood. Your Honor, I was concerned because Mara has a pattern of minimizing issues. Judge Ramirez looked at the clinic note. The child was at the clinic when officers arrived. I did not know she had actually gone. She informed you of nurse instructions. Did you ask for an update before calling police? Daniel paused. No, Your Honor, I believed immediate action was necessary. Judge Ramirez's expression did not change, but the air in the courtroom did. Immediate action that resulted in police arriving at a pediatric clinic where the child had already been medically evaluated. He said. Daniel's face reddened. Karen stood. Your Honor, this is part of a pattern. Petitioner interprets ordinary caregiving through an accusation of instability and then creates records based on his own accusations. Ms. Vaughan objected to the phrasing. Judge Ramirez lifted a hand. The court is concerned. Mr. Pierce, you are admonished, unless there is immediate danger, you are to use the parenting app, medical providers, or counsel before initiating law enforcement contact. Misuse of welfare checks may affect custody determinations. Daniel sat down slowly. There it was. Stage 2 cost. Not final, not enough, but official. Admonished. The word entered the record. Daniel would hate that word almost as much as I hated unstable. When court ended, he tried to catch me in the hallway. Karen blocked him. This is what you wanted, he said over her shoulder. You wanted the judge to think I'm a bad father. I looked at him. No, I said, you did that. His face twisted for the first time. He raised his voice in the courthouse. I called because you scare me. People turned. The court officer looked over. Daniel saw the attention and stopped. Too late, Karen said softly. We'll take note of that. Daniel looked around, realizing he had become the scene, the thing he always tried to make me. I walked away with Lucy's medical folder under my arm. Outside, Tessa waited by the courthouse steps. When I told her what happened, she exhaled and looked up at the gray sky. He finally got a word in the record. 2, she said. What word? Admonished. For the first time that week, I laughed. It was small, it was tired, it was not joy, but it was mine. That night, Daniel did not message through the app, Savannah did not post, Linda did not call. The silence lasted exactly 14 hours. Then Linda sent a text to my mother, who forwarded it to me with the subject line, "We need to talk." Linda had invited my parents to dinner. She wrote that everyone needed to gather before Mara destroyed the family. At the bottom, she added, "We will have papers ready just in case she comes to her senses." I stared at the screenshot. Papers, dinner, family. Tessa read over my shoulder and said, "Trap." I looked at Lucy, who was sleeping peacefully now, fever gone, one sock missing as usual. Daniel had tried court, he had tried daycare, he had tried therapy, he had tried police. Now he wanted a table full of witnesses to pressure me into signing away my child. I forwarded the message to Karen, then I typed back to my mother, "I will come. Tessa will come with me. Lucy will not." Linda set the table for 12. That was my first warning. Not 6, not immediate family. 12, Daniel's parents, my parents, Daniel's sister and her husband, 2 family friends from their church, Savannah, Daniel, me, Tessa. Lucy was not there. That was my decision. And I felt Daniel's anger about it the moment I stepped through Linda's front door. He looked over my shoulder. Where is she? Safe. His eyes narrowed. With whom? Not relevant to this dinner. Linda appeared from the dining room wearing an apron she had never cooked in. "You did not bring my granddaughter." "No, this dinner is for her future. This dinner is for adults who want to pressure me." The room went silent. Tessa stepped in behind me and closed the door. My mother, Elaine, stood near the fireplace with a tight, anxious expression. My father sat beside her, hands folded, looking like a man who wanted peace more than truth. Daniel's sister, Rebecca, avoided my eyes. Savannah stood near the dining table, arranging napkins, as if she belonged there, as if she had hosted many dinners in Daniel's family home. Maybe she had. Linda recovered first. We are trying to prevent court from tearing this family apart. Daniel filed in court, Daniel said. Because you forced my hand. My mother flinched. I turned to her. Mom. Before anyone speaks, you should know Daniel has been admonished by the judge for calling in a misleading welfare check while Lucy was already at the pediatric IN. Linda snapped. That is not what happened, Tessa said. It is in the court record. Savannah set down a fork with a tiny click. Daniel smiled tightly. This is exactly why we asked everyone here. Mara has started presenting everything through a hostile legal lens. We need family support, meaning witnesses who would tell me I was unreasonable. Linda gestured toward the table. Sit, eat, then we talk. The meal was roasted chicken, green beans, mashed potatoes, and a thick stack of documents beside my plate. Not hidden, not subtle. A pen rested on top. Tessa looked at it and laughed once. No humor in it. You put the custody agreement next to her dinner plate. Linda's face hardened. It is a family safety plan. No, I said, it is the same agreement Daniel already tried to make me sign. My father finally spoke. Mara, maybe reading it with everyone present would help. I looked at him. He loved me. I knew that. But my father had always believed calm voices were more trustworthy than shaking ones. Daniel knew it too. That was why this dinner existed. Dad, I said, Daniel's agreement says I acknowledge emotional instability and give him primary custody. My mother's face changed. Daniel quickly said, temporarily, until my therapist confirms I am ready. That is reasonable. Dr. Sloan never said I was not ready. Savannah spoke before Daniel could stop her. Therapists often avoid direct language to protect clients. I turned to her. Are you a therapist? No, but I work in family wellness branding. Tessa choked on nothing. Savannah lifted her chin. I understand communication. You understand optics, I said. Daniel's hand came down on the table, not hard enough to count as violence, hard enough to make Rebecca jump. Enough, he said. The room froze. There he was, not the worried father, not the soft-voiced husband, the man under the set lighting. Linda reached for his arm. Daniel, he pulled away. No, I am done letting her turn this into some conspiracy. Mara. Sign the agreement. Show everyone you care more about Lucy than winning. I looked at the documents, the pen, the plates, the witnesses, my own parents watching me like my next breath might prove or disprove sanity. No. Daniel's face went still. My mother whispered, Mara. I turned to her. Do you believe I am dangerous to my child? Her eyes filled. I think you have been under a lot of stress. That is not what I asked. She looked at Daniel, then Linda, then me. I don't know what to believe. That hurt, but it also freed me from trying to make belief arrive before evidence. I picked up the agreement and handed it to Tessa. Read page 2 aloud. I said. Tessa took it. Daniel stepped forward. Do not. Tessa read anyway. Mother acknowledges that recent emotional instability has impaired her ability to provide consistent infant care. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. Tessa continued. Mother agrees that father shall have temporary primary physical care of the minor child until mother's treating provider supplies written confirmation that mother is safe for unsupervised parenting. Daniel said. That is standard. Karen had prepared me for this. No, I said, it is not. Savannah crossed her arms. If you are safe, why are you so afraid of confirmation? Because the confirmation already exists. I said. Daniel just does not like it. Linda scoffed. Then show us. The room went quiet again. Daniel looked at his mother sharply. I could have shown them the notes then. Part of me wanted to. I wanted to place Dr. Sloan's words in the center of Linda's table and watch my parents read lucid, oriented, protective. I wanted to clear my name in the room where they had planned to shrink me. But Karen's instruction held me. Do not try the case at dinner. So I said, court will see them. Daniel laughed. Of course, always hiding behind court. You filed in court. You keep saying that like I attacked you. I protected my daughter. I stepped closer to the table. Then why did you email Savannah that you needed primary custody before your company launch? The effect was immediate. Rebecca looked up. My father frowned. Savannah's face tightened. Daniel's voice dropped. You are violating privacy. That is not an answer. Linda said. Business matters are irrelevant. No, Tessa said. When he connects custody to public image and house access, it is very relevant. Daniel turned on her. You have wanted Mara to leave me from the beginning. I wanted Mara to stop disappearing inside your version of her. His face flushed for a second. I thought he might shout. Instead he moved toward the sideboard, grabbed the diaper bag Linda had taken from my house, and pulled out Lucy's medical folder, my medical folder, the one he must have copied before I secured the cabinet. Daniel, I said. He held it up. You want evidence? Let's talk about evidence. Tessa moved. I grabbed her wrist. Daniel opened the folder. Here, pediatric calls, feeding issues, reflux, fever, anxiety notes. Does this look like a normal household to everyone? My father stood. Daniel, put that down. Daniel ignored him. She documents everything because she is obsessive. I document because you lie. I said. The words cut through the room. Daniel stepped toward me, folder in hand. Say that again. You lie. His mask tore. He reached for the agreement on the table and shoved it toward me so hard the pen rolled off the edge. Sign it. No, if you do not sign, I swear I will make sure Lucy grows up knowing you kept her from me. My mother gasped. Rebecca whispered. Daniel. He did not look away from me. You will lose, he said. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but I will bury you in every anxious note, every therapy session, every messy room, every moment you were too tired to smile. I will make them see you the way I do. There it was, the truth. Not concern, punishment, not safety, control. I heard a soft click from the corner of the dining room. Tessa heard it too. Her eyes moved to the ceiling. Linda's house had security cameras. Daniel had installed them last Christmas after a package theft. One in the foyer, one over the back door, one in the dining room corner facing the table. He had forgotten, or he had never imagined the footage could hurt him. I looked at the camera, then I looked back at Daniel. Thank you, I said. His eyes narrowed. For what? For saying it clearly. He followed my gaze. His face changed. Linda turned too. The camera is off, Rebecca said quietly. No, it isn't. The little light is on, for the first time all night. Savannah moved toward the door. Tessa stepped into her path. Going somewhere. Savannah lifted her chin. This is family business. You sat at the table, Tessa said. Stay for dessert. Daniel grabbed the folder and the agreement. I reached for the agreement too. He pulled back. The paper tore between us. That sound snapped something in my father. Enough, he shouted. Everyone froze. My father had not raised his voice in years. He crossed the room and stood beside me. Give her the papers, he said to Daniel. Daniel stared at him. You do not understand what she is like. My father's face was pale. I understand what you sounded like just now. My mother started crying silently. Linda said, this is being twisted. Rebecca looked at her mother. Mom, stop. Another crack. Not in Daniel yet. In the wall around him. Daniel threw the torn agreement onto the table. You all want to believe her. Fine, believe her. But when something happens to Lucy, remember this dinner. I picked up my coat. Nothing is going to happen to Lucy because I refused to sign a lie. I walked to the door. Tessa followed. My father came after us onto the porch. Mara, he said. I stopped but did not turn right away. He sounded older than he had at the beginning of dinner. I'm sorry, he said. Those two words nearly broke me more than the whole table had. I turned. He stood under the porch light, shoulders bent. I should have asked you what happened before I listened to them, he said. I swallowed. Yes, you should have, he nodded, accepting it. That mattered. Not enough to fix everything, but enough to begin. Tessa opened the car door for me as we drove away. She called Karen. Linda's dining room camera caught Daniel threatening to bury Mara in therapy notes. She said, also he tried to force the agreement again. Also Savannah was present. Also family witnesses. Also I may have told Savannah to stay for dessert. Karen was silent for half a second, then she said, I want the footage. Tonight. Getting it should have been hard. It was not. Rebecca sent it at 11:48 p.m. Daniel's sister emailed the dining room clip to Tessa with one line. I can't keep pretending I didn't see him. The footage was clear. Daniel's hand slamming the table. Daniel ordering me to sign. Daniel threatening what Lucy would be told. Daniel saying he would bury me in every anxious note. Daniel showing everyone that the therapy records were never about safety. They were ammunition. At midnight, Tessa copied the clip to AU Drive and placed it in my hand. Court is ready now, she said. I looked at the small silver drive. It weighed almost nothing. Still, it felt heavier than Daniel's entire binder of lies. The final custody hearing began at 9:00 a.m. On a Thursday. Daniel arrived early, so did Savannah. She sat behind him in a dark green dress, hair pinned back, face composed. Linda sat on his other side. Rebecca did not sit with them. She sat behind me, beside my parents and Tessa. That seating arrangement told a story. Before anyone spoke, Daniel noticed his face did not change, but his hand tightened around his pen. Lucy was with Mrs. Alvarez. I had kissed her goodbye at dawn while she slept, promising I would come back with the shape of her life safer than before. Karen placed 3 binders on our table, 1 red, 1 blue, 1 yellow. Daniel looked at them, then at me. For months, he had turned my private pain into exhibits. Today, the exhibits had turned around. Judge Ramirez entered. Everyone stood. I did not feel brave. I felt clear. Those were different things too. Ms. Vaughn began with Daniel. He testified in the same voice he used for investors and pediatric nurses. I never wanted to hurt Mara, he said. I love her. I want her healthy. But Lucy needs consistency. Ms. Vaughn asked about the messy nursery. He described chaos. She asked about my texts. He described fear. She asked about therapy. He paused, looking pained. I encouraged Mara to seek help, he said, but over time, it became clear she was using therapy to justify cutting me and my mother out. He looked at the judge, not at me. I believe she needs support before she can safely make decisions alone. Ms. Vaughn handed him the blue safety agreement. Did you propose this to avoid conflict? Yes. What was your intention? To protect Lucy and give Mara time to recover. Recover, as if I were an illness in the house. Then Karen stood for cross-examination. She walked slowly to the podium with 1 page in her hand. Mr. Pierce, you testified that your intention was to avoid conflict. Yes. Did you file an emergency custody petition without notifying my client, because it was urgent? Did you serve her in the courthouse hallway? My attorney served her. Did you call her unstable in that hallway? Daniel's eyes flicked toward me. I said I was concerned about her stability. That is not what I asked. Did you use the word unstable? He hesitated. Yes. Karen nodded. Did you use that word in front of court staff and strangers? I do not remember who was present, but you used it publicly. I was trying to explain. Answer the question. Yes. Karen turned a page. Did you create a binder titled Mara Pierce Incidents? Daniel's face tightened. I documented concerns. Did you keep it in the nursery closet? I kept it in my home. Is the home titled to you? No. But we are married. Is the deed in your name? No. Is your name on the deed at all? No. Small answers, small cuts. Karen moved on. Did you email Savannah Brooks stating, I need primary custody before launch? Ms. Vaughn objected. Judge Ramirez looked at Karen. Foundation. Karen handed up the exhibit. Ms. Vaughn reviewed it. Her face changed slightly. Judge Ramirez allowed the question. Daniel swallowed. That email is taken out of context. Karen's voice stayed even. The sentence is, I need primary custody before launch. If Mara has Lucy most of the time, she controls the story and the house. Did you write that? Daniel looked at the paper. Yes. The courtroom air shifted. Karen let the silence sit. Then she asked, what launch? My company's product launch, a family finance app. Yes. With a branding strategy centered on trust and family stability. Daniel's voice hardened. That is irrelevant. Judge Ramirez said, answer the question. Yes. Karen picked up another paper. Did Ms. Brooks advise you that the stable father angle could work if custody became public? Daniel's face flushed. She was advising on communication. Did she write, if she reacts, the unstable angle works? He said nothing. Karen waited. Judge Ramirez said, Mr. Pierce, yes. Behind him, Savannah lowered her eyes. Karen set the page down. Now let's discuss Dr. Sloan. Daniel straightened, as if relieved to reach the ground he thought belonged to him. Karen asked, you contacted Dr. Sloan's office multiple times, correct? I was concerned about my wife. Did you have a release authorizing Dr. Sloan to speak with you? No, yet you called. Yes. Did you ask Dr. Sloan to document that Mara was unstable around the baby? I do not recall using those words. Karen turned to the yellow binder. Your Honor, permission to display Exhibit 42. Judge Ramirez nodded. The courtroom screen lit up. Dr. Sloane's contact log appeared. March the 21st. Spouse called after session requesting provider document that client is unstable around baby. Provider informed spouse no information could be disclosed and declined to make unsupported statements. No one spoke. My heart pounded once. Daniel stared at the screen. Karen asked, "Do you recall now?" He looked at the judge. "I was scared." "Did you ask for that phrase?" "I may have used it in conversation." "Did you have clinical evidence that she was unstable around the baby?" "I had concerns. That was not my question." Ms. Vaughn stood. Objection. Argumentative. Sustained. Judge Ramirez said, "Rephrase." Karen did. "Did any licensed provider tell you Mara was unsafe to parent?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Not directly. Indirectly, no." Karen displayed another note. April the 19th. Spouse appeared in office lobby without appointment. Asked whether provider would support emergency custody if wife refuses reasonable placement. Spouse became agitated and stated, "If she reacts badly enough, you'll have to write it down." Karen looked at Daniel. "Did you say that?" His voice was low. "I do not remember." Karen nodded to the screen. Dr. Sloane remembered enough to document it. Ms. Vaughn objected. Judge Ramirez said, "The record speaks for itself. Move on." But Karen did not move away from therapy. She called Dr. Sloane. Dr. Sloane entered the courtroom in a navy blazer, calm as ever. She swore to tell the truth and sat with her hands folded. Karen asked her to explain the purpose of my therapy. Postpartum adjustment support. Dr. Sloane said, stress management, boundary setting, recovery from a difficult birth, and processing marital conflict. Did you ever diagnose Mara Pierce as psychotic, delusional, or unsafe to parent? No. Did you observe her to be bonded with her child? Yes. How did you document that? Dr. Sloane looked at the note. Client presents lucid, oriented, and appropriately bonded with infant. Client demonstrates protective decision-making and seeks pediatric guidance appropriately. Hearing the words aloud in court did something to me. They did not heal everything, but they entered the public air where Daniel had placed unstable one truth against one lie. Karen displayed the distorted attachment from Daniel's safety agreement. Did you author this? No. Does it accurately represent your clinical opinion? No. Why not? It removes causal context and changes the meaning of my note. I wrote that Mara reported anxiety in response to repeated boundary violations. This version suggests generalized emotional volatility impairing parenting. That was not my opinion. Daniel stared at the table. Linda whispered something to Savannah. Judge Ramirez looked at them, and they went silent. Then Karen called Tessa. My sister walked to the stand with her chin lifted, but I saw her hands tremble when she took the oath. Karen asked about her role. I attended 3 therapy support sessions with Mara's consent, Tessa said. I also helped her keep a timeline because Daniel often denied things he had said or changed the context later. Ms. Vaughn tried to paint her as biased. You dislike my client, don't you? She asked. Tessa looked at Daniel. I dislike what he did to my sister. That was not my question. No, Tessa said. I do not dislike him enough to lie. I care about Mara enough to write down the truth. A few people shifted behind us. Karen displayed Tessa's timeline, dates, times, incidents. Daniel calling me unstable after I asked him not to wake the baby. Daniel telling me a court would take one look at me. Daniel contacting Dr. Sloane. Daniel bringing the safety agreement. Daniel's porch camera threat. Daniel's dinner threat. Then Karen played the dining room footage. I watched myself on the screen, pale, still, standing at Linda's table while Daniel shoved papers toward me. His voice filled the courtroom. Sign it. No, if you do not sign, I swear I will make sure Lucy grows up knowing you kept her from me. My mother covered her mouth behind me. On screen, Daniel continued, you will lose. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but I will bury you in every anxious note, every therapy session, every messy room, every moment. You were too tired to smile. I will make them see you the way I do. The video stopped. The silence afterward was enormous. Karen did not speak immediately. She let Daniel's words stand alone. Then she asked Tessa, was Lucy present at that dinner? No. Why not? Because Mara refused to bring her into a pressure meeting. Did Daniel know Lucy was not present before this statement? Yes. So when he threatened what Lucy would be told, He was not responding to immediate danger, no, he was responding to Mara refusing to sign. Yes, Ms. Vaughn tried to repair the damage when she questioned Tessa. Your family was emotional that night, correct? Yes. Daniel was emotional too, yes, and custody disputes can bring out unfortunate language. Tessa looked directly at her. That was not unfortunate language, that was a plan. The courtroom held its breath. Ms. Vaughn moved on. Savannah was called next. She walked to the stand like a woman crossing a stage, but the confidence did not reach her eyes. Karen asked about her role in Daniel's life. Savannah said, professional consultant. Karen asked whether she had a personal relationship with Daniel. Savannah said, we are close friends. Karen displayed a message subpoenaed from Daniel's phone. Savannah to Daniel, once this is over, we can build the home Lucy deserves. Karen looked at her. Professional. Savannah's lips pressed together. Another message. Daniel to Savannah, Mara will never agree if she thinks you are involved. We need the mental health angle first. Savannah did not look at Daniel. Karen asked, did you advise Daniel that if Mara reacted, the unstable angle would work? I advised him to remain calm. That was not my question. Savannah swallowed. Yes. Did you accompany him to a supervised exchange center despite not being authorized? I thought my presence would help. Help whom? Lucy. How many times had you met Lucy before that day? Savannah hesitated. Twice. Karen let that answer settle. Then she played the parking lot recording. Savannah's own voice filled the room. You still think being a good mother is enough? It isn't. Courts look at stability. Judges look at who can provide a calm environment. You show up with folders and panic and your sister like a bodyguard. I show up with Daniel, a plan, and a home that doesn't revolve around your feelings. Savannah closed her eyes. Karen stopped the recording. No further questions. By the time I testified, I felt less like I was walking into danger and more like I was stepping into the space Daniel had tried to keep from me. My own voice. Karen asked about Lucy's care. I answered with facts: feeding schedule, reflux plan, pediatric calls, fever visit, daycare routine, sleep, medication, emergency contacts. She asked why I started therapy. To recover well, I said. To understand what was happening in my marriage, to make sure I stayed grounded for my daughter. Did therapy make you less capable of parenting? No. What did it change? I looked at Daniel. It made me stop accepting Daniel's labels as facts. Ms. Vaughn crossed me for 4 to 5 minutes. She asked about crying. Yes, I cried. She asked about saying I could not do this anymore. Yes, I said that after Daniel woke me to argue during night feedings. She asked about anxiety. Yes, I felt anxiety when my husband told me he could make a judge see me as unstable. She asked whether I hated Daniel. The courtroom went very still. I thought of Lucy's fever, the police, the binder, the nursery he built with Savannah, the way he smiled when he thought shame would keep me quiet. I hate what he has done, I said. I do not need to hate him to protect my daughter from it. Judge Ramirez watched me for a long moment. When testimony ended, the judge called a recess in the hallway. Daniel approached me before Karen could block him. His face was pale. Mara, he said, we need to stop this. I looked at him. Only months ago, those words would have lit a desperate hope in me. We stop this, as if the harm were a weather system passing over both of us equally. No, I said, we needed to stop it when you made the binder. His eyes flickered. I was scared. You were strategic. I love Lucy. I know, I said, but you love control more. He flinched. For once, I had found the word that fit him. Karen stepped between us. Do not contact my client. Daniel looked past her at me. She is my daughter too. Yes, I said, that is why you should have told the truth. The recess ended. We returned to the courtroom. Judge Ramirez did not rule immediately. He reviewed the exhibits, spoke carefully, and said he would issue temporary findings from the bench before a written order. My hands went numb. Lucy's entire life seemed suspended in the space between his papers. Finally, the judge looked up. The court is deeply troubled by petitioner's pattern of conduct, he said. Daniel stared forward. The evidence suggests petitioner repeatedly characterized respondent's postpartum therapy as instability without clinical support. The court is further troubled by petitioner's attempts to obtain therapeutic statements, his presentation of an unauthenticated therapeutic attachment, his misuse of a welfare check, and his efforts to pressure respondent into signing an agreement acknowledging instability, my breath stopped. Judge Ramirez continued, "The court does not find respondent to be unsafe. On the contrary, the evidence before the court indicates respondent has acted appropriately in seeking medical care, preserving routines, and maintaining the child's needs." Behind me, Tessa made a sound like a sob cut in half. Daniel's face turned gray. Pending written order, petitioner's parenting time shall remain supervised. Respondent shall retain primary physical custody. The court will consider whether sole legal custody is appropriate in the final order given petitioner's misuse of medical and therapeutic information. Linda whispered, "No." Judge Ramirez looked directly at Daniel. "Mr. Pierce, this court will not reward a parent for manufacturing a mental health narrative to gain advantage in custody." There it was. The word Daniel chose had come back as a finding, manufacturing. He did not look at me when we left. Savannah did not wait for him in the hallway. Linda did. But even she looked shaken. Tessa grabbed me outside the courtroom and held me so tightly I could barely breathe. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I said, looking through the courthouse glass at Daniel standing alone beside the security desk. "We did the first part, because the order was not final yet, because Daniel still had a chance to fight, because men like him did not surrender control just because truth entered the room, but his strongest weapon had broken in his hands, and for the first time since he called me unstable." The courthouse hallway looked different, not safe, not kind, but honest enough to hold what he had done. The written order arrived 9 days later at 4:06 p.m. I was on the nursery floor at Mrs. Alvarez's house, stacking soft blocks for Lucy so she could knock them down with the fierce concentration of a tiny architect. My phone buzzed. "Karen, order entered. Call me when you can." I stared at the message until Lucy slapped a block against my knee. "BA," she said. "Yes," I whispered. "Exactly." Tessa was in the kitchen making tea she would forget to drink. She came in when she saw my face. "What happened?" "The order." She put the kettle down without turning it off. I called Karen on speaker. Her voice was calm, but I heard something under it, satisfaction, maybe, or relief carefully folded into professionalism. "Are you sitting down?" she asked. "Yes." Tessa sat beside me on the floor. "Lucy tried to eat a yellow block," Karen said. "The court awarded you sole legal custody and primary physical custody." For a second, I did not understand the sentence. Then I did. Sole legal custody, primary physical custody, not because Daniel did not matter, not because fathers did not matter, because Daniel had used fatherhood as a weapon, and the court had finally named the risk. Karen continued, "Daniel receives supervised visitation twice weekly at the Exchange Center, subject to review after completion of a parenting course and individual therapy focused on coercive behavior and appropriate co-parenting boundaries. He cannot bring Savannah or Linda to exchanges. He cannot contact medical or childcare providers except through the process stated in the order. He cannot discuss your therapy with third parties. He cannot disparage you to Lucy now or later." The court reserved sanctions but ordered him to pay part of your attorney's fees related to the emergency motion and welfare check issue. Tessa covered her mouth. I looked at Lucy. She had no idea that a judge had just redrawn the walls of her world. She only knew the block tasted interesting, Karen added. The order also notes concerns about the unauthenticated therapeutic attachment, MS. Vaughan has withdrawn it. The court has referred the matter to appropriate review if any party pursues it. "What about Savannah?" Tessa asked. Her affidavit was given little weight due to credibility issues and personal interest. Her communications may create problems for her professionally, but that is separate from custody. I closed my eyes. "What do I do now?" I asked. "Breathe," Karen said. "Then we move forward with divorce terms. Custody is the largest issue. Property is simpler because the house is yours. We will formalize Daniel's removal from any access. Change locks if you have not, update passwords. Follow the order exactly. Give him nothing to twist. What if he appeals? He can try. The factual findings are not good for him." Tessa leaned back against the couch and started crying silently. I still did not cry. My body had become too used to waiting for the next attack. Karen seemed to understand that too. "Mara," she said, softer now, "this is a win." I looked at the order on my email, a PDF. black text, court seal, not warm, not emotional, not enough to erase what happened but strong enough to hold a boundary when my voice got tired. Yes, I said, it is. Daniel messaged through the parenting app 17 minutes after the order went out. This is not over. Karen told me not to respond. Then he sent another, you took my daughter, another, you and Tessa poisoned everything, another. One day Lucy will know I saved them at 4:42. Karen filed a notice of inappropriate communication and reminded his counsel of the non-disparagement clause at 5:10. The messages stopped. That was the first time I understood the difference between a boundary and a wish. A wish was hoping Daniel would be kind. A boundary was a court order, a lawyer, a screenshot, and the refusal to argue. That evening, my parents came over. My mother cried before she reached the porch. I am sorry, she said. I stood in the doorway with Lucy on my hip. The old me would have comforted her first, told her it was okay, softened the guilt so she could feel like a good mother again. The new me waited. My father stood beside her, holding a casserole dish in both hands like an offering. My mother wiped her face. I should have believed you. Yes, I said. She flinched, but she nodded. I thought if I stayed neutral, I was helping. You were not neutral. You were available to whoever sounded calmer. My father closed his eyes briefly. My mother took the words. She did not defend herself. You're right, she said. That mattered. Lucy reached for my mother's necklace. Unaware of adult repair, I stepped aside. They came in. We ate casserole at Mrs. Alvarez's small table while Lucy dropped peas onto the floor and Tessa told my father where to find the good napkins. It was not a perfect family healing scene. My mother cried twice. My father looked ashamed whenever the legal order came up. Tessa was polite in the way that warned people not to test her, but no one asked me to consider Daniel's feelings. No one told me Lucy needed her father at any cost. No one said unstable. The next morning, I returned to my grandmother's house. With a locksmith. Tessa came with me. So did my father. He did not ask whether it was necessary. He carried boxes. The locksmith changed the front door, back door, garage code, and side gate. I changed the security system password. I removed Daniel's fingerprint access. I took Linda off every account connected to the house. Each little deletion felt like removing hooks from my skin. Daniel arrived at 11:20. Of course he did. He pulled up behind the locksmith van and got out without shutting his car door. What the hell is this? He demanded. My father stepped onto the porch. Daniel stopped. For years, Daniel had known how to manage my father. Golf, market talk, calm explanations, son-in-law smiles. But my father had watched the dinner footage. Some doors do not reopen after that. Mara, Daniel called. I stood inside the doorway, Lucy not present, Tessa behind me with her phone visible. The order restricts your access, I said. You no longer have permission to enter this property. Daniel looked at the locksmith, then at my father. This is still my marital residence. No, my father said. Daniel stared at him. Excuse me. My father's voice was quiet. It is my daughter's house. For a moment, Daniel looked more betrayed by my father than by the judge. You people are unbelievable, he said. Tessa said. That is not a legal argument. He pointed at her. You did this. No, she said. I kept notes. You did this. His face twisted. Then he looked at me, and the anger shifted into something more dangerous because it came wrapped in grief. Mara, please, he said. Can we talk without all of them? No, I am your husband. For now. His mouth parted. It was the first time I had said it plainly to his face. For now. The divorce had been in motion since the emergency filing. But Daniel had treated it like a tantrum I would abandon once he scared me enough. Hearing me say it made the ground move under him. You don't mean that, he said. I do. We have a daughter. That is why I mean it. He stepped closer. My father moved down one stair. Daniel stopped again. This is not who you are, Daniel said. I thought of Dr. Sloane's office, of the note that said I was oriented, of Tessa's timeline, of Lucy's fever, of the police in the clinic parking lot, of Savannah's nursery photo, of Daniel at Linda's table saying he would bury me in every moment. I was too tired to smile. This is exactly who I am, I said. You just preferred me confused. The locksmith cleared his throat softly from the driveway. Holding the final set of keys, I walked down the steps and took them. Daniel watched the keys land in my palm. There was no dramatic music, no crowd, no judge, just a small metal sound, but Daniel heard it. Control changing hands. You will regret this, he said. No, I answered. I regret waiting. He got back into his car before leaving. He looked at the house one more time, not like a man mourning a marriage, like a man watching a door close on property he still believed should have been his that afternoon. Savannah's professional profile disappeared from the company website. I did not search for it. Tessa did, because Tessa believed in snacks and consequences. She posted a statement. Tessa announced from the kitchen, I don't want to know. You kind of do. I sighed. Read the least annoying version. She says she is stepping back from client-facing work due to personal misinterpretations of private communications. I stared at her. Tessa looked up. That is consultant for court, Savannah did. Not go to jail. She did not lose everything overnight. Real life was not that clean. But Daniel's company delayed the family finance app launch. Several parent influencers pulled out of the campaign. One of the women who had messaged me after Savannah's post sent an apology. I did not answer right away. I was learning that not every apology required immediate access. Linda called my mother 3 times. My mother did not pick up. That was her first small repair. Rebecca sent me another message. I'm sorry I waited until dinner to send the footage. I should have spoken sooner, I replied. Thank you for sending it when you did. That was all. Daniel's supervised visit was scheduled for Saturday. He arrived alone, the exchange center report later noted. Father appeared upset but compliant. Father asked staff whether mother had coached child to be distant. Staff explained child is 6 months old. When I read that line, I laughed so hard I startled Lucy, then I cried because grief had a strange sense of timing. It came after the order, after the locks, after the first real night of safety. It came when Lucy fell asleep in my arms and I looked at the empty side of the room where Daniel's old life no longer reached. I cried for the husband I thought I had. I cried for the postpartum nights I spent apologizing for needing help. I cried for every mother who had ever been called unstable because she named the pressure crushing her. Tessa sat beside me and did not tell me to stop when I finally wiped my face. She handed me tea. You okay? No. Good answer. But I will be. Also good. My phone buzzed. Not the parenting app. Email Karen. Daniel has requested settlement conference regarding divorce. I stared at the screen. Tessa leaned over. Translation. He wants to negotiate now that custody is gone. Daniel had not wanted peace. He had wanted leverage. Now the leverage was gone. I looked down at my wedding ring. I still wore it on a chain because my finger had swollen after pregnancy and I never put it back on properly. For months, I told myself it meant we were in a hard season. Now it looked like evidence of how long I had tried. I unclasped the chain. The ring slid into my palm, small and bright. Tessa watched silently. I placed it in the top drawer beside the court order. Not thrown away, not sold, not dramatized, filed like everything else Daniel had given me that could no longer define my life. Daniel cried at the settlement conference. Not at first. At first, he came in polished gray suit, no wedding ring, controlled face, MS, Vaughn beside him. Though she looked less certain than she had in the beginning, Karen sat beside me with a yellow legal pad and the final custody order tabbed in blue. We met in a conference room at the courthouse annex, glass wall, long table, bad coffee, no judge. But the order was present in every chair. Daniel began with money. He wanted a gradual move-out timeline for his belongings. Karen said no unsupervised access to the house. He wanted reimbursement for marital improvements to my grandmother's property. Karen asked for receipts and legal basis. He wanted joint decision-making restored after 6 months. Karen pointed to the findings regarding misuse of mental health records. He wanted the right to introduce Lucy to significant supportive adults during parenting time. Karen said, if you mean MS, Brooks, no. Daniel's jaw tightened. For an hour, he negotiated like a man trying to rebuild a room after the foundation had been removed. Then he looked at me. Mara, he said, can you stop letting her speak for you? Karen did not react. I did. No, he blinked. I hired her to speak in this room, I said. That is why she is here. I want to talk to my wife. You are talking to the person divorcing you. That was when the first tear appeared. It slipped down his cheek silently, almost beautifully. Once, that tear would have undone me. Daniel knew it. He let it fall. I made mistakes, he said. Karen wrote something on her pad. I said nothing. Daniel leaned forward. I was scared. I thought I was losing you. I thought Tessa and therapy and everyone were pulling you away from me. I panicked. Panic did not write a binder. He flinched. I know, he said. I know, I hate myself for that. No, he did not. He hated that the binder failed. I love Lucy. He said, I know, I love you too. The room went very still. Ms. Vaughn looked down. Karen's pen stopped. I felt the words approach the old part of me, the part that had waited months for him to say love without a condition attached, but the words could not enter. There was no room left for them. You loved me quiet, I said. You loved me doubting myself. You loved me explaining and apologizing and making you comfortable. When I stopped doing that, you tried to take my child. Daniel covered his face with one hand. That is not fair. No, I said. What you did was not fair. What I said is accurate. His hand dropped. Anger flashed through the tears. There he was. Ms. Vaughn touched his sleeve. Daniel, he pulled back. I am asking for a chance, he said. You have supervised visitation. With you, no. With our family, no. With the life we built. I looked at him then, really looked. We did not build the same life, I said. I built routines, feedings, doctor calls, a nursery, a home. You built a case. He stared at me. The tears stopped. There was relief in seeing it. Pain too. But relief because the performance had ended. Karen slid the proposed settlement terms across the table. Property division is straightforward, she said. The house remains Mara's separate property. Personal belongings can be retrieved through a scheduled third-party process. Custody follows the existing order. Child support will be calculated under guidelines. Communication remains through the parenting app. Non-disparagement remains. No use of Mara's therapy records outside litigation. No disclosure to the child. Daniel looked at the papers as if they were written in a language he had not expected me to learn. And if I don't sign, he asked. Karen smiled politely. Then we litigate, using the findings already entered. Ms. Vaughn leaned toward him and whispered. Daniel listened. Then he signed, not because he was sorry, because he could count. When the conference ended, he waited near the elevator despite Karen's warning. I almost walked past him, then I stopped. Not close, not soft, just stopped. He looked exhausted. For the first time, I saw what he would be without my constant repair. Not destroyed, not ruined. Just smaller. A man standing in a courthouse hallway with no audience left to convince. Do you remember our first apartment? He asked. I did not answer. You burned toast every morning because the toaster was broken, he said. You laughed every time. I remembered loving him in that apartment, with its thin walls and terrible heat, before love became a place where I kept surrendering pieces of myself to avoid being called difficult. Daniel's voice dropped. We were happy, we were young. That doesn't mean it wasn't real. No, I said, it means real things can still become unsafe. He looked away. I don't know how to be a father like this, he said. Then learn, without you. Yes. The elevator opened. I stepped inside with Karen. Daniel did not follow. The doors closed on his face. A month later, I moved back into my grandmother's house, not because the house was untouched. It wasn't. The nursery still carried the memory of Daniel's binder. The porch still held the echo of his threats. The dining room still had the chair where Linda once sat folding judgment into napkins. But homes can be reclaimed the way minds can, room by room. I painted the nursery a warm cream instead of Linda's perfect pale pink. Tessa helped me hang shelves. My father fixed the loose porch step. My mother planted new lavender by the fence and did not ask me to say thank you before I was ready. Mrs. Alvarez brought soup and watched Lucy while I changed the locks on the garage again because security made me feel less foolish than hope. I made the office into a design studio, not a grand comeback, not a glittering career montage, just a desk, a laptop, client emails, and 2 hours of work during Lucy's naps. My first project was a logo for Paula's sister's bakery. My second was a brochure for the Exchange Center's fundraiser. Gloria paid me late and apologized 3 times. I told her once was enough. Daniel attended supervised visitation twice a week. The reports were dry. Father arrived on time. Father appeared frustrated when child cried. Father asked whether mother had packed preferred pacifier. Father was redirected when discussing litigation. Father completed 90 minutes. I read each one, filed it, and did not use it to hurt him. That was the difference between protection and punishment. Savannah disappeared from Daniel's public life before the app launch was officially cancelled. Tessa heard she moved to another firm and rebranded herself as a crisis communications specialist. Accurate, Tessa said. Linda requested grandparent visitation through Daniel's attorney. Karen responded with the dinner footage and the temporary order findings. The request vanished. Rebecca visited once, awkwardly, with a stuffed rabbit for Lucy. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. Good. I answered. Expectations make apologies heavy. She laughed nervously, then she cried, then she helped fold laundry. My parents learned to ask instead of assume. Sometimes they failed, sometimes I corrected them. Sometimes the room went quiet and uncomfortable. We survived it. One Saturday in late spring, I took Lucy to the park near the courthouse, not because I wanted to remember, because it had the best baby swings and a coffee cart that made terrible coffee I had grown fond of. Lucy sat in the swing with a sun hat slipping over one eye, shrieking with laughter every time I pushed her gently. Tessa stood beside me holding 2 coffees. You know, she said, for someone who was called unstable, you are aggressively boring now. I laughed. Thank God. No dramatic courthouse hallway today. No secret folders. No emotionally manipulative men with tulips. Absolutely not. Lucy kicked both feet and shouted at a pigeon. Tessa watched her, smile softening. She won't remember any of this. No, but you will. Yes, are you okay with that? I pushed the swing again. Lucy flew forward 6 inches and laughed like the world had never once been cruel. I think so, I said. I don't need her to remember what happened. I need her to grow up inside what I did about it. Tessa's eyes filled, but she rolled them upward. Rude. I wore mascara. I smiled. Across the park, the courthouse steps were visible through the trees. I remembered standing there with Daniel's word burning through me. Unstable. I remembered how badly I wanted someone to tell me I was not what he said. In the end, people did. Tessa did. Dr. Sloan did. Karen did. Paula did. Judge Ramirez did. But the first person who had to stop believing him was me. My phone buzzed with a parenting app notification. Daniel, Lucy's next visit is Wednesday. Please pack the yellow blanket. She settles faster with it. No accusation, no unstable, no performance, just a request. I looked at the message for a long moment. Then I replied, I will pack the yellow blanket. That was all. No warmth he had not earned, no cruelty I did not need, just the boundary and the baby. Lucy squealed again. Reaching for me, I caught the swing and lifted her into my arms. She smelled like sunscreen, grass, and crackers. My daughter placed both hands on my cheeks and looked at me with absolute seriousness, as if she had something important to say. Then she drooled on my chin. Tessa burst out laughing. I did too. The sound surprised me. It was not bitter, not tired, not careful, just laughter. Later, at home, I put Lucy down for her nap in the cream-colored nursery. The yellow blanket lay beside her. The moon phase print still hung over the crib, but now beneath it was a small framed card Tessa had given me. Not fragile, becoming. I stood there for a while, listening to Lucy breathe. Then I went to my office. On the top shelf sat one sealed evidence box, Daniel's binder copies, the court order, the blue agreement, the ring. I did not open it often. I did not need to. Proof had done its job. I touched the box once, not with fear, but with acknowledgement. Then I turned away. There were emails to answer, bottles to wash, a grocery list to make, a life to live in ordinary pieces. That was the ending Daniel never understood. He thought winning meant possessing the loudest story. He thought losing me would look like screaming, revenge, public ruin, a woman forever defined by what he had done to her. But my real victory was quieter, a locked door, a sleeping child, a name no longer twisted in his mouth, a mind I trusted again, a future where my daughter would never have to watch me shrink so a man could feel stable. I sat at my desk, opened a new project file, and typed my own name. Mara Whitfield, not Mrs. Pierce. Not unstable, not his version, mine.